What's up, people? I think we'll be getting started here pretty soon. Hopefully. Oh, I didn't turn my TV on. Hold on. I don't have the remote for it. I gotta fucking... Actually, manually do it. Ugh. Thanks for the sub. Intro pizza. Welcome in. Okay. Until we do get started. Dried vegetables. Probably China, some Southeast Asian countries, probably. I'm gonna guess the US. Live in 15 minutes, Gibbs says. So apparently we might have some time. Malaysia? Question mark? Not really. I feel like Germany would not have it, but I feel like some European countries gotta be on there. France. Okay. Number 7. I'm gonna guess India. Oh wait, you know what? Indonesia, maybe. Do you watch the news Piers Morgan debate? Not yet, but welcome back, Poland. I think we're gonna watch it after this debate panel. I'm assuming you mean this one with Fishback.
This is your friendly reminder.
Germany. It was Germany. I could have guessed Germany and Poland. But you know what? Whatever. Oh wait, sorry. No, okay, never mind. I thought I was reading the wrong thing. It was India too. I could have guessed India. Do you support a sin tax on OnlyFans? Probably not. Okay, there's some fucking island. Samoa, maybe? Question mark. American Samoa? I feel like that's closer to Samoa than 1,500 kilometers, but yeah, damn. Top grades in Florida, though not the broke ones, so we can fund sectors of education, etc. Yeah, but I just don't think, like, I think sin taxes generally can be inefficient tax, right? So, like, I'm not opposed to a tax on cigarettes, for example, alcohol. I'm not sure specifically OnlyFans is like the best way to do it. I don't know. Are you taxing the consumption of it, or are you taxing the creators? I mean, we'll watch the video later, like I said, but I could see an argument for playing a or just having a sin tax on like all porn. Creators profit. That seems a little silly. That'd bring millions. Yeah, but like, it's the same guy who wants to get rid of fucking property taxes, right? Like, he's not concerned about raising revenue for the government in an efficient manner. Did you see Missouri Republicans overruled the minimum wage and paid family leave referendum? Yeah, I saw. What's up, Brian? Ever heard of leftist creator Jovan Bradley? Don't believe so, although maybe. I feel like it's not fucking... Oh, I already guessed Fiji. I just don't know. I just don't know the islands there by name. I don't think it's the Marshall Islands, but yeah, kill me. Oh, I think we're about to get started. Oh wait, no, I do know this guy. I've seen this guy before. On TikTok and on YouTube Shorts and such. Hold on, before we start this, I want to finish this. Fuck, what are the other islands there? Samoa, Fiji, Marshall Islands. I don't know. Fucking... Isn't Timor... Isn't this an island or whatever? What am I thinking of? Bruh. Man, I don't know. I don't even know. I don't even remember the names of the islands there. Some of them are Saint, right? But some of the Saint Islands are in the Caribbean. So I don't know. Fucking this place. Kill me. Cook Islands. Yeah, I never would have got that one. Hello? Damn, I see how it is. Alright, okay. The experience has been making a lot of anti-capitalist memes lately, not gonna lie. Oh, yeah, that genetically modified skeptic, he does some of that stuff too. He talks a lot about... I used to watch him a lot when I was younger. As opposed to the grown man I am now, but... Genetically modified skeptic. Some of his stuff is fine. And like, he talks a lot about like culture war stuff now. Kind of. But some of it is just cringe. I never really watched Religious Experience, but I've seen him, I think, just on other people's like podcast. Or Atheist Experience. Am I thinking of the right guy? I know Matt Dillon, yeah, and then I know the other dude. Did he quit or something? Where is he? This dude, I know this dude. Why morality is a product of evolution. Oh no. The thing is that most of them are low-tier atheist debaters. Yeah, I know, and they are also shit at politics as well.
Let's talk to you, Jay.
GMS isn't an atheist experience anymore. Okay, I've seen this dude before, and I've seen him say some dumb shit, I feel like, but...
Brennan, see him. Calling in from Soggy Dogs, who wants to talk about evolution. You're on the Atheist Experience with Forrest and Jim. How are you doing today?
Hello, Forrest. I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing?
Doing really well. Doing really well.
Oh, you want to know how we understand evolution?
Yeah, so I can just kind of give you a short background on myself then before we get into it.
Yeah.
So earlier today about evolution, and I am familiar that you're an evolutionary biologist.
Every time I hear intensity talk about healthcare or taxes, my brain explodes. Did he talk about it at the Unfuck America tour? I saw he was doing that, and I clicked on a stream and I saw that one dude. I couldn't find him on the UFA website. I don't know if he is a creator with them or anything, but he was wearing the healthcare as a human rights shirt. And I was like, I thought he was a creator. I was like, I gotta reach out to this dude and talk to him about some healthcare stuff. But he He was talking about EA based. Destiny was, or one of the debaters. Like people who haven't learned anything from the last decade. Matt Dillon Holiday got blown the fuck up by Joe Smith. Yeah, I would imagine. Joe Smith is goated though. I love what's his fucking, I forget what his channel is called. Destiny Base. Wait, what did he say about EA? Majesty a reason. He's goated. Joe Smith on abortion. Oh no. Oh, 4 years ago I think that was. I thought that was new. Just look at a VOD. I'm not going to be able to. The VOD isn't even on YouTube, is it? So I have to go to Kick, and Kick doesn't have a transcript feature, so there's no way for me to easily find the thing. Matt Dillon fans are insane. Look at the comments in his debate with Matthew Adelstein. Wait, what did they debate about? But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, that's a cool 1 second stream. It's not even on Kick either. What's on Kick? Okay, so I can't. It's on Spotify. Spotify also doesn't have a transcript feature, so it's just not. I just gonna take forever to find it, and I don't even know if I can view. Can I view Spotify VODs just in a browser? Do I have to use a fucking app? It's not even here. Matt didn't understand basic Bayesian epistemology. Bayes, he's also shit at epistemology in general as well. He doesn't even seem, like, from the stuff I've seen, he has this, maybe dialect tree is harsh or whatever, but like he has his dialect tree. He's obviously like experienced in like debating, you know, the atheist stuff, but like I'm not even sure he knows that much like general philosophy. Not that I do, obviously, but like from what I've seen of him, it just seems kind of like he has that one pretty narrow dialect tree type thing. What's up, Tim? I will never miss Pam Bondi's fake outrage, and don't ever say I will. I wasn't planning on it, but welcome. Suspect that a guy has been doing this for decades, and he's still stuck in the past. Yeah. That's his. How many? They don't even get that many views, but they upload a lot. Plus, I bet they get donations and sell merch, so. Bruh. The reason Pam Bondi got fired was that she wasn't sufficiently efficient in going after Trump's enemies. No clue why liberals are celebrating. Well, I mean, I'm fairly certain you're going to find plenty of liberals saying that or whatever, but it's just like, it's just like a funny, maybe funny isn't the right word. It is kind of funny, but okay, you know what? 1 million views in the last 28 days, basically. That's more than I thought. And most of them are long form views. Matt, being narcissist as he is, tries to argue that Smid was confused and didn't understand epistemology. My go. Okay, well, Gibbs has his camera on now, but there's still other people not here and stuff. Should we react to some vehicle swap? We don't have like much time. I don't think. I think we have like maybe 5 minutes, but you can send. You can send something. I'm obviously familiar with his most recent paper. Definitively debunking neoliberalism. Did Sieg want to see this kind of co-thread on how the ACA causing share consolidation? It's short. Did he just make it? I might have seen it before. To my understanding, that's true. I mean, you can send it. I'll check it out. To my understanding, it is true that it caused consolidation. I believe I've seen Nicholas Decker. He wrote a thread about a study that showed that result as well. So that is not a surprising result. I think that's likely. Jackson and Ruta responded to that paper. It's not even causal. I know. Definitive proof. Dotted lines are all you need, don't you know? That's how it works.
No, I did not get everything accomplished.
What the fuck?
Yeah, see, this is what happens when you own shit. You're never done working.
No shit, right?
Fucking send somebody to go down there and pull a cow out of a trough. That was a real fun redneck thing to do today.
You need the sling like the fire department.
Hold on, let me check the thread out. Thanks for the follow over on Trovo. It's always names I can't pronounce over there. Probably because they're Russian bots. That's kind of what Trovo exists for. I feel like there's a decent chance I've seen this before.
Yeah,
The gain needs to go down and the echo will leave.
Yeah, I turned it all the way down. Then I fucked with some other shit and turned it back up. How is it now?
That's better.
You sound like me now and Gibbs.
I'm just gonna turn your volume down a little bit. Say something.
Penis, penis, penis.
All right, that's good. I need to turn you up just a little bit now.
Bro, for the last 4.5 hours, I was just on a panel. They were talking about dicks and penises. Oh, God.
That's fantastic. That's not what we're talking
Last 4.5 hours. I barely last 2.5 minutes.
No,
They make a bill for that, bro. You should check it out. All right, let's fucking hop to it. I'm sure the non-fund is going to tell us all about his corporate sponsor, Blue Chew.
Of course.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the Iran war. Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of Give Me a Break. We're doing, is the Iran war good for the economy? I like that we were just talking about dicks and penises, and we have Castle doing the porn POV angle. This is fantastic. We're off to a great start. So, is the Iran war good for the U.S. economy? Yes, no, maybe. Let's talk about it. Hopefully, not everybody agrees, because that would be crazy. All right, Tyler, you can go kick us off.
All right, well, generally, war is generally good for the U.S. economy because for multiple reasons, but the American hegemony component, us controlling the world, has global confidence through the roof in terms of world trade. Having these unstable factors removed from the equation one by one, Iran being one of the most destabilizing factors in the world, ends up being a massive net benefit for world trade. Every nation's better off because of world trade. The amount of money we spend on all of our military defense spending that helps other nations pales into comparison to what we bring in tax revenue from simply just taking in imports and exports and then how they trickle down through our economy. It's always a win. Iran is a massive destabilizing factor. Now that we have a coalition of nations in the Strait of Hormuz, well, in the Gulf area, 7 nations all working together, Abraham Accords hopefuls with Abraham Accords members, I think we're going to see a much better world in terms of global trade moving forward, and the stability is going to wipe out all the short-term gains we see because of the war.
All right, thank you so much. Castle. You're muted.
Can you hear me now? Is it good?
Yes, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, so I disagree that this war is good for us economically. I would agree with Tyler that usually war is something that generates good economic output for the country, that at least in U.S. history it has for us. But with no plan in place, we really don't know what's going to be the long-term benefit to this war at this point. Right now, oil prices are up tremendously. A lot of people are seeing that affect their pocketbooks, and it doesn't sound like Trump every week. It sounds like the war is over, the war is coming to a close, and then it seems like we're sending more troops in. So I don't see the long-term benefits to this if we don't know exactly what the actual goal is to this war. Is it to take out leadership that we've already killed and bombed? Is it to put in certain people in place? So if we had a more clear-cut plan, I could kind of put something on the table to say, yeah, well, when this happens, I think everything will come back down in terms of the prices for commodities. But it seems like that without that, it's hard to say that anything coming out of this so far has been good for the American people in terms of economic stability or prosperity. So I would say it's not good so far.
Right. So what? Spin City. Also, view your camera. There you go.
Oops, sorry. I thought I had it on. Sorry, Gibbs. First of all, the war is about nuclear weapons. I don't know how stupid you really are not to see that. Number one. Number two, it's not about oil. It's not about minerals. It's not about anything. It's about a tyrannical government or dictatorship. And I do emphasize dictatorship that that screams death to America, death to American citizens, death to it all. So it is about nuclear weapons that could and may, or very close to may, being able to reach the U.S. soil. Yes. Or, excuse me, no. It is not helpful to the U.S. economy for the mere fact that everything has inflation. However, would you rather pay a little bit more at the pump to get rid of some moron that at any given time could say, oh, fuck it, I don't like whoever the president is, so fucking nuke him? That's what the war is about. Yes, it does have a hit on the United States economy, and I can almost guarantee, without doing statistics, it is having an economic effect on the whole globe.
Wow, he can do that without statistics? Shocking.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. Non-fun.
Yeah, I think as it stands right now, it's like obviously been bad so far. You know, essentially any negative supply shock is just going to decrease global welfare. And, you know, that's especially true in the case of where it's a input for everything, as oil is, and natural gas too that goes through the Strait of Hormuz, and that's been affected as well. It's like in theory possible for some supply shocks to increase like national welfare, even if it decreases global welfare. But that's like just almost certainly not going to be the case, given you know how much important oil and natural gas are as inputs for basically everything. We've seen in the past that oil shocks, like negative oil shocks, have they've decreased total factor productivity. We've seen, you know, it could be the case that we get like cheaper oil or whatever in the future, that there's some more regional stability. But to the extent that's true, you'd expect that to already be priced in, right? So, you know, the bet you're asking us to make is to engage in this war or whatever that has like extremely uncertain results, and you know, investors are not confident that there's going to be a good outcome that's going to generate more stability later on. And that's evident in the fact that we've seen, you know, stocks fall, we've seen uncertainty increase, and those are all things that probably also have a negative effect on investment and consumption and the rest of the economy.
All right. Thank you so much. Also, last Thursday, if y'all didn't know, was National Chili Dog Day. We missed it, so we're eating chili dog now. Secondly, okay, let's talk about it.
I love a chili dog.
Yeah, it's great. So yeah, my guilty pleasure of all. I don't really do fast food very often. Haha, fat joke.
Oh yeah.
But I do enjoy Wiener Schnitzel now and then. A good glizzy, you know, it's fantastic. Anyway, now let's talk about this. The oil, that seems to be the debate. We've said it's for the petrodollars. Now we've argued I've argued in the short term oil prices will go up, but the long term, I think Tyler touched on this, so I'll let him start it off, and then we'll go to the other one. The long-term gain of removing a chaotic power from the region would indefinitely make oil prices more stable. And it would make it stable in other regions by eliminating their supply to the Houthis, which is another different region affected by this. Tyler, why don't you kick us off with that thought process? Do you agree with this sentiment that eliminating Iran as a chaotic actor would help the world and U.S. economy specifically?
I'd hope so, because I made the point in my opening that I agree with it. Absolutely. I also agree with the fact that I love a fucking chili dog right now with cheese on it too. But absolutely. So a couple of things that were brought up is we are seeing some shock, absolutely. But the shock is going to go away as soon as the conflict ends. The only thing that's creating the shock is the threat of shots against ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. As soon as that's removed, the threat is gone. And right now, as of 18 hours ago, the Iranian president said the Strait of Hormuz is open. We're no longer going to assure any European ships going through. Those ships are not United States ships. We get less than 1% of our oil that goes to the Strait of Hormuz. So it's not going to really affect us.
That's absolutely not true, because oil is a global market, and it's very...
I was just going to make the point. Could you let me finish my sentence? I was going to say what affects us is
He's already said like 3 dumb things, but okay.
Oh, yeah. But I'm right. But I'm correct about all of it.
True.
Yeah,
so for one, just because...
Let me finish. You can go next.
Go ahead.
Dude, are you watching fucking CNN? Are you watching CNN?
Everybody, shut the fuck up. Let him finish. Not about your next.
So going into the point about how we have no plan, the goals were clearly stated. Number one is we remove the ability of Iran to project power outside of its borders. That is the number one goal. The number two goal is to find leadership that will work with us. Either it's Israel going in and peeling back layers of the onion in terms of their leadership. We're already on layer number 4 right now. Or the other is somebody arises from a different party and says, hey, we're going to take over stewardship of the country and do it in a more democratically friendly way, where we're not the world sponsor on terrorism, blowing up multiple countries, and the threat of shooting at the Strait of Hormuz anytime you piss us off or don't let us attack Israel with our proxies. So absolutely, this is world peace and a stabilizing measure that greatly is going to outweigh the 2-month blip we're going to see that's going to go right back down.
Go ahead.
So for one, we're not only impacted by the oil, because, you know, there are other, like natural gas is very important. That also goes through the Strait of Hormuz, and that's going to affect energy prices globally as well. But, you know, to the extent that we don't rely on oil directly from the Strait of Hormuz, that doesn't matter that much, because oil is, you know, redirected towards other places that do rely on those, right? Oil exporters or oil exporters in other countries that would otherwise be sending their stuff to the U.S. or whatever, are now sending it to other countries, and that increases the global price of oil. You know, it's fun. There's essentially one price for oil less the cost of transportation shared between countries, right? So that's number one. Number two, to the extent there's cheaper oil in the future or whatever, like I think it's plausible that a new Iranian regime could provide more stable oil or whatever. I don't necessarily, because Iran's a member of OPEC, I think it's likely that if, you know, even if we were able to give Iran better government or whatever, it would take just like years to actually get oil production up above where, you know, kind of where they are at now. And then B, you know, OPEC would probably cut oil in other places to make up for that, to maintain their price. So it's not clear to me. I think it could make it less volatile, but again, to the extent that the bet you're asking us to take is to engage in a war that I think has extremely uncertain outcomes, that is absolutely pushing up energy prices, absolutely pushing up the price of essentially everything, because oil is an input for everything, transportation prices, right? Every good needs to be transported. In order to like get somewhat cheaper oil in the future, or like maybe have somewhat less volatility in the price of oil in the future, that's a very risky bet that like no private investor would make if they were like in some equivalent position. And that's evident in the fact that, you know, if people expected good outcomes for it, if good outcomes were likely, that would be priced in. You wouldn't see the S&P 500 and Dow Jones falling 5%, you know, in the last month or whatever, because they'd be priced in. People would recognize as rational actors that there's going to be these good outcomes in the future.
So you said I said 3 incorrect.
Thanks for the $5. I appreciate it.
The first thing, you basically agree with my take. The second thing you said was wrong. Actually, you said it's actually plausible, but here's some weird tangents that as to why it wouldn't happen. So you didn't prove either of those wrong. You said one was right, one was plausible.
Point of order thing real quick. I'm gonna let Tyler finish, and then non-fine I know is gonna want to respond. Then we're gonna spin, then count.
So the last part is where we disagree. You said private investors. What the fuck do private investors have to do with it? Kark Island's almost fully untouched. They could pick up maximum output tomorrow. As soon as the regime surrenders, they can go back to selling just as much oil. It wouldn't affect the oil markets. They're going to go back to normal.
But by private
investors, what the fuck
investors,
does U.S. investors have to do with it?
because if these good outcomes or whatever were likely, if it was going to be good for the economy long term, or at least if those were likely, I can see it is logically possible for it to be the case that it could be positive overall in the long run. It would be priced in. You wouldn't see like asset prices in a negative wealth shock like you're seeing right now. Investors would recognize
the stock market should never fall, because at the end of the day, it's always going to go up long term. It's always priced.
That's not what I'm saying. 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 That's not what I'm saying.
What you're saying.
Nope.
Yes,
nope. Absolutely not. I'm saying if good outcomes were likely, you would expect or asset prices to not fall as much as they have, or potentially even remain relatively stable. But with regards to the other things, I think I like interrupted you, to be fair, and said like I was just frustrated because I said like, you know, you just said like 3 wrong things or whatever. Number one, you know, the point about us only getting a little bit of oil from the Strait of Hormuz, I think that's just very misleading. Like I think it's fair to say most people interpret that at the very least in the wrong way when people say that. Yeah.
But my point was, once Europe starts getting the oil from the Strait, that's what's going to balance markets.
Let Fun quickly respond to your what you just said, and then we're going to go to Spin. And then
I'm done. That's good. They can jump.
Sure. Yeah. They can.
Okay. Spin. Go ahead.
Okay. How many times have you been dropped on your fucking head? There's only 20 million barrels.
Six.
He's been dropped more than fucking 6. Seriously. There's only 20 million barrels of oil that go through the Strait of Hormuz that are destined to the United States of America. In itself, in the 4 corners of it, that ain't shit.
Right.
Where do you think the United States gets their oil from? Truthfully.
That doesn't matter because it's a global market.
Okay, I renew my question. How many times have you been dropped on your head?
Well,
do you understand?
There are 20 million barrels.
Generally,
hold on. There are 20 million barrels of oil that come through the Strait of Hormuz. That ain't shit.
Let me try to illustrate what Nonfon's saying, because I think that there's some sort of disconnect in the language here. Nonfon's saying that since it's a global commodity, it doesn't matter how many oil barrels are sold from Iran or any of the, or go through the Strait of Hormuz directly. What matters is, since the global price is going to rise, that's going to cause the U.S. oil to rise, because those people that would normally sell to us, since they're capitalists, are going to take the higher price from somewhere else, which is going to indirectly raise it here, because we're not going to have this cheap of oil access. Is that a good, like...
Yeah, you have the entire global market is essentially bidding on oil barrels, right? So it doesn't matter that like the specific oil barrels that we currently are bidding for are, you know, there's only 20 million that come from the Strait of Hormuz, because when those oil barrels are gone, the same amount of buyers are bidding on the lower remaining oil barrels, so it pushes the price up for everyone. There's like
what is your objection to that? Do you have an objection to what that take you to Spin? So go ahead, and then you can say your other thing.
I'm sorry.
Do you have an objection to the opinion of what he just said, and then you can continue your other thing as well? Sorry, I just want to rid the confusion there.
When you look at global oil production, who is I have the objection, but I have to ask a question first.
I appreciate it.
In global oil production, what country is the one? Is it? How do I say it? Fuck! I lost it. Sorry, I lost it.
That's fine.
Sorry,
Gibbs.
I fucking lost it.
It happens. I do it all the time. ADHD. It's also the many times I've been dropped and then dropped on my head that it causes. Castle, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think my question to you, Tyler or Spin, is what is short term for you? Because I think we saw under the Biden administration what happened when supply chains got messed up because of COVID. We saw inflation start to occur, objectionably a month or 2 after the month of March or during March. And then that lasted until supply chains started to ease. But this inflation lasted for a good year and a half, towards the end of 2024 when he was up for re-election, or when Kamala was up for the re-election. We finally got to see it abate around 3% or so. What we're seeing now with oil is the same deal. So even if the Strait of Hormuz were to open, this is something where a supply chain shock is going to last well into a year and a half, as we saw during COVID, because this is something, even if you have the government of Iran is replaced by whoever Trump likes, this is something that even when the Strait opens is going to take ships. It's going to take a much longer time than I think people realize for oil prices to actually come down. So what is the time frame that you think, if the Strait of Hormuz, first off, when do you think Iran is going to open it? And then how is that going to happen? And then how long after it opens do you actually think oil prices are going to come down to $70, $80? Like what do you guys think is going to be the level?
I want to address the first thing first before everyone jumps in, because I think that's a fair question to ask the whole panel. But Trump versus Biden, there were different circumstances. So Biden campaigned on green energy. He campaigned on going after the fossil fuel companies. There was a lot of people that were disincentivized to invest in oil before Biden even entered office. And then when he took office, he took a bunch of his administration and Democrats who were in control of the House at the time, took a lot of action against these oil companies, telling them that they
there was more drilling under Biden.
Yeah, at the long term, and a lot of that happened in year 2, year 3. I'm talking about the first few months of his administration and what he campaigned on. The messaging his campaign was. How was
there more drilling under Biden when he shut all the fracking down and he shut pipelines down? Yeah, maybe in another country.
I'm not sure. I don't think Biden did a total like fracking ban or whatever, but
I'm not saying he did a total fracking ban.
He banned government land, but he didn't really. There wasn't a lot going on that land already. So he allowed a lot. Year 3, Biden did a lot of oil drilling and fracking and whatnot. He did pivot on this.
For the same guy that you have to have electric cars by, what was it, 2035? That makes no sense.
I don't think Biden there was a tax credit for buying an electric car, but I don't think there's no mandate to have an electric car by
there
whatever.
was a mandate.
It was a tailpipe ban. The tailpipe ban made it so that there was no tailpipe that had been invented yet that met the standard of carbon emissions in this EV ban. So unless we invented new technology for gas cars that met these new standards, everyone would be forced to buy an EV by 2035.
That was the point. That was the point of the whole thing. It was a mandate behind a piece of legislation that if an idiot would read it, they would say, "Oh, this isn't no big deal." Oh, yeah, it was.
All right, beyond the point, Tyler, get back to your...
Yeah. So Trump and Biden's going into it, like his first year, he was very anti-fossil fuel. He did pivot on that later on. He had a great year 3 on the subject. But Trump is extremely friendly to fossil fuel, to the point where he's even pro-fucking coal, which is kind of weird. Anywho, going in, so I see the market seeing, as soon as this conflict ends, plummeting. We saw 10% drop in the oil price in a single day, or in gasoline price in a single day, just like a week ago when Trump started messaging. His messaging the last few weeks has been the war is almost over, the strait's opening back up, you get your ships through, blah, blah, blah. And you see oil prices they're not rising anymore, they're not falling, they're sitting stable at about 3.1. It's not even close to 2022.
Come on.
I'm looking at it. I got here. I'm pulling it up right now for you. I got trading economics.
Was that like
I got trading economics right here on my screen. You can look at the graph. That's the last 2 weeks of gasoline prices. They've stayed pretty much fucking stable.
They've been rising slower since like they've been rising slower since like March. But if you just look at like crude oil prices, like I'm just looking at Fred right now, WTI crude oil prices, like they're still increasing. There's like volatility in them, obviously, and the increase has slowed because I do think Trump's messaging has shifted a bit.
The infrastructure for the supply is all still in place. All we need is that strait to open back up. Again, 18 hours ago, the Iranian government said they're going to stop shooting at ships in the Strait of the Hormuz as a policy, as a nation. So if it opens back up in 2 days...
like to the extent you recognize... I haven't looked into that. I'm granting that's true, and that they're actually going to follow through in it, right? But like, what then? If that's the case, what have we achieved that's going to bring down the price of oil in the future so far?
We took out the entire. Okay, so do you know how
we took out the leader and some of his family, and now it seems like
the Iranian government works?
Broadly.
There's 2 leaders. There's a president of the country that gets democratically elected.
There's a supreme leader, yeah.
And then there's a Shah. Yeah, we took out the Shah. We took out his son, who's rumored to be dead now. We took out the entire RRGC leadership, which is their private military. We took out, the Ayatollah. We took out the Besieged, which is their entire private police. taking out their
So
bunkers.
do you
We're
think
blowing up 10 of them at a time now.
Do you think right now that, like, if we ended a war right now, that it would be a net positive for the U.S. economy, given whatever the flow of future regional stability and cheaper oil is?
Absolutely. We've completely decimated their ability to project power outside of their border. They have no more Air Force, no more radar, no more air defense, no more missile production, no more rocket production, no more drone production, no more stockpiles of any of those things either. Well, except for drones, they still have a lot of drones. Other than that, they're completely fucking decimated. The IRGC is in shambles. The Besiege is almost non-existent at this point. Their leadership's back in the third or fourth layer. Eventually, we're going to get somebody that's going to be like, all right, we'll fucking work with you. I don't want to die.
Can we admit then this is not about destabilize or like getting rid of their nuclear arsenal? Like that's not. It can't be just. It can't be
Absolutely.
about that. I thought
it is.
It's buried right now. They're leaving it right now.
Let's go to spin. Do you agree it's not about the nukes then? Because you said it
no. Fuck no. It is about the nuclear weapons that they were, which I believe in very uncertain or certain terms, that they had the ability. They very well could still have some sort of ability to produce a nuclear weapon. Now, mind you, with what the operation has done, would unequivocally say that they are behind. They're behind the ball now than what they were a month and 4 days ago or whatever the fuck it's been. So I do not believe at all, to fully be transparent, it was about oil or minerals. It was about the nuclear threat that they very well possessed, period.
But Spin, you do realize that initially when we did strike their nuclear targets, Donald Trump said it was a success and that we came in and we got what we needed to. And now we're going back into Iran because clearly it wasn't a success. So he either lied the first time or it couldn't been about nuclear weapons. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said that. I don't
believe that he lied. I believe that there was other intelligence that wasn't seen at that given moment. Period.
Well, then that's a failure.
I'm not sure there's any reason to believe that's true. I think you could argue he didn't think it was. He didn't think the earlier strikes were like sufficient or whatever. Maybe for, even if they got rid of some nuclear capacity, maybe for like broader regional stability issues. I don't think there's any evidence to the effect of what you're saying, though. I don't know why you would believe that.
Any evidence to what?
To Trump getting like some new unseen intelligence or whatever, and that being the reason he decided to like continue going and escalate
federal
things.
Government, you're never going to see that.
So
obviously, I could not necessarily bring up some sort of evidence that says that, okay, we didn't get it all. Okay, that happens. How could
you're not necessarily going to get? I'm not saying you're going to get a classified CIA report on whatever, but they do. One, there are agencies, the Department of Defense / War and the CIA, that they make public statements, and then there's also just reporting on a lot of the meetings they have, right? Like we get from New York Times, Washington Post all the time, anonymous sources within the administration are familiar with what the administration is saying, reporting on what they the reason why things are happening and certain things that have happened in meetings and such. And then I would expect even Trump himself or someone high up in the administration, if that were the reason, would indicate that more than they have. I think Trump's messaging has been somewhat inconsistent.
What moronic logic are you using that the Department of War or the Department of Defense, whatever the fuck you want to call it, would come out and say, okay, we got some, but we didn't get it all? What kind of CNN fake news logic is that bullshit?
Your logic is that the fact that they've given information the first time, though. I mean, that's even worse.
What I'm saying is, why would they even come out and even say anything like that?
Because they want to justify their actions.
Okay, let me break it down into kindergarten terms for you. Why would the government come out and admit that they didn't get it all?
because they want to
Only
justify
CNN
going to
only
war,
CNN
and also
MSNBC
because we are a democracy, so there are like some principles.
We are not a democracy.
Okay,
We
so
are a constitutional republic.
For people who live in a
not this
real
one
world,
again.
we are a democracy. We have like civilian control over the military, right? That's a very important principle. And now that doesn't like mean that every single decision the DoD makes or whatever, they have to come out and explicitly say certain things. There's obviously classified things. There's obviously things that they're not going to reveal until much later on. There's obviously things that would be diplomatically like wrong to reveal, but. You're like echoing, by the way.
Sorry, yeah. I was switching something so I can walk away with it.
Yeah. So like, I'm not saying you're going to get everything, but I just gave you. I think the fact that they've given statements about why we're going to war in the past or whatever. They were.
Did it say anything about oil? Did it say anything about oil?
I believe some of Trump's True Social posts have. I'm not familiar with any like official actor or beyond that saying that
right now, and I want to see. I would like you to prove to me that President Trump said something about it was about oil.
I'm not saying I doubt he has an exact quote saying I'm going to war for Iran for oil. I believe some of his some of his True Social posts, from my recollection, do at least imply that oil is going to be a benefit, or like securing our oil supply like is at least a objective among many in the war. I believe
the Iranian oil is shit oil. It's shit oil.
Okay.
It is sold on the spot market.
It's about taking the supply and being able to do what we want with it, like Venezuela. I think if it was an operation like anything like Venezuela, it would have been a major success, honestly, because after Venezuela's regime change expedition, we saw how oil prices were lowered. We saw how their government basically, what they have, seems like a puppet of Maduro is in charge now, but it seems like she's more willing to work with the president. Iran's totally different. The government's not the same. The country's not the same. There's no way that anybody should have expected this to be the same as Venezuela. And I think that's one of the major problems with this is that Trump, like Tyler was saying, like oil has been going up and down because every week Trump has to come out in front of major news about how we're going to be sending more troops overseas, and he's trying to get oil prices to go down during the week. And then when we see we're not actually achieving peace, then they start to rise at the end of the week. So I don't think that we actually have a clear idea. He said in his speech last night that it's going to take 2 to 3 more weeks, but we don't know if that's actually true, because if something major happens in Iran again and we have to send either more troops in or Iran doesn't surrender or concede to anything, then what's the point at that point? They can keep the strait closed for indefinitely, and that's going to be a major problem.
Well, can they keep it closed indefinitely? It seems like they said it's already open.
It is open.
Oh, yeah. Well, hold on. Some people are saying...
Well, to certain people.
Well, hold on. Some people are saying it's open. They're saying to certain people. Some people are saying it's open for a bunch of variety of other reasons. I'm saying it's open because they don't got no missiles and they don't have no mines. Eventually, it's going to be like, oh, well, we opened it for everybody, when in reality, they just can't enforce it anymore.
I don't think they can keep it closed like literally forever or anything, but like I see no reason why they can't sustain, at least a dangerous enough environment such that most companies, their ships insurance won't let them through. That's a constraint there.
Yeah, well, okay, that's actually a really good point, Non-Fun. I'm so glad you brought me to one of my other points on my list of topics to discuss today. We're taking over from the Leeds of London. That seems like a death knell in the British Empire, and another, a feather in the hat for old Trump and them. Now we're going to be able to insuring. That's more money for the U.S. It ensures our frigates are over there. That's more money for manufacturing companies on our side, because of our military industrial complex. Do you think that's a good thing that we're taking over the insuring Non-Fun and that helps us economically?
Why wouldn't?
Sorry,
we're making money.
Hold on, I was reading something. Repeat some of what you said.
Okay.
You said we're taking over an insurance company, and that's gonna.
Yeah, we're gonna start insuring the ships, just like Leeds of London has always done for like the last couple hundred years. Now we're gonna be doing that instead. You don't think that helps us benefit like economically to be?
That could dampen the effects of obviously the the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is more risky, but I guess I don't have a strong reason to believe there'd be like a market failure necessarily in insuring ships that go through the Strait of Hormuz. Maybe kind of the spillover benefits or whatever from oil because they are is used as an input for everything. Maybe insurance like doesn't fully capture that, so it kind of overprices it. But I would imagine we'd have to, we'd have to deficit spend to some extent. We have to use tax money to fund that to some extent to essentially subsidize insurance for ships, and that doesn't seem necessarily to be good for me.
Well, has it been good for Leeds and London? Because I mean, they made a whole industry out of it for hundreds of years. So like, why would it be bad for us but good for them? Just because it's taxpayer dollars?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it works. It sounds like if we're like intervening in it, we're probably going to, like, the intent of that is to somehow change the market outcome or the market price of this stuff. And I think you could end up setting kind of the market price of passing through the Strait of Hormuz too low. So that would be, at that point, we're using taxpayer dollars to create a distortion in the market.
Ben, you object to that?
Why would we use taxpayer dollars when the shipping companies would be paying the United States for the insurance at a profit?
I mean,
what kind of stupid logic is that?
People pay for like Medicaid and Medicare, right? But it requires taxpayer money.
That doesn't even make any fucking sense, dum-dum.
What do you mean it doesn't make sense?
It doesn't make sense.
Unless I'm mistaken, there are like co-pays, and I think even for, I think that depending on what plan you have, I think there can't even be just like a straight up premium. So you're charged monthly for certain like Medicaid.
Well, first of all, there's some dumb fucking logic. If you have Medicaid, it's one plan. There are no
different
other plans.
You can get a Medicaid Advantage plan. You can get a Medicaid standard plan.
Are you in Minnesota or Oregon?
I'm in North Carolina.
There's the problem. Next thing, there is only one plan for Medicaid. You got it or you don't. If somebody is on Medicaid, they're not going to go out and buy another plan on top of the plan that the government has given them. So I go back to the same logic.
Hold on, but even with the plan, what I'm saying is you can obviously have a insurance company or whatever that collects payments from people, but still requires deficit spending or like transfers
Medicaid,
from the general fund.
If you're on Medicaid, you're in poverty.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So why would I fucking pay? Why would I take the limited funds that I have to pay for something else? I go back to the same logic.
No, I don't think you understand
what
I'm saying. So,
I understand.
Maybe
exactly
I'm
what
mistaken. Maybe I'm mistaken. I know for certain you could at least choose between like a Medicaid standard plan and a Medicaid Advantage plan. The Medicaid Advantage plan being like contracted out to a private insurance company. Okay,
maybe in Obamacare.
So Obamacare, they say, is still in effect. So
Obamacare, you have to pay for. Medicaid, you don't.
Well, let's move past the Medicaid thing.
I'm trying to land it, Gibbs. I'm trying to land it.
Okay, we'll land it because I don't give two fucks about Medicaid right now. We're talking about the Iran economy.
I just want to be.
This is what I'm trying to land.
My initial point is that the government can obviously run an insurance company that is subsidized such that it doesn't actually like make a profit. Generally, or like a lot of state-owned enterprises across the world do this. They might collect some revenue and some fees from people who use the product or whatever. The USPS collects. You have to pay to ship a package with them, but they don't make a profit because we're essentially the USPS is a little different because of how it's structured, and it can't really get the same type of transfers from the general fund, but it's essentially subsidized by taxpayers to make up the difference between their cost, right? So the
USPS is a private organization that is contracted through the U.S. government. Anyway, going back to what I'm saying, why would we not benefit from holding the insurance or backing insurance to come through the Strait of Hormuz and making a profit?
So it's not clear there'd be a net benefit because I don't have a reason to believe necessarily that the market is kind of underpricing risk. So the whole point of insurance is that you're pricing the risk of passing through the Strait of Hormuz because your ship could be destroyed or captured by the Houthis or Iran or whatever. So I would generally think that the market does a decent job at that. I don't see necessarily why in the shipping market that risk would be over or underpriced. And if the government intervenes and ends up underpricing risk, then we're going to have to pay out. We're going to be taking taxpayer funding or whatever from other parts of the economy to pay out a lot of money to ships that have been destroyed.
Which is exactly right. Once the government takes over something like insurance in a socialized country like that, they have the political incentive. Okay, we're going to lower the price of insurance because we want more shipping to happen. It's essentially a tax. Once the government takes it over, it's an insurance tax. And if they cut that insurance tax down to undervalue it, they could lose taxpayer money. So at the end of the day, man, I would rather have the private market in charge of insurance and just have U.S. insurance companies privately intervene if they'd like.
Well, I think we've established that at least the insurance market in the U.S. is making money off this, Gibbs. But what about the rest of us? Come on.
Thank you so
What
much.
about the consumer?
That's another good segue. Let's talk about a different thing. The insurance market seems to be making money, but you know who else seems to be making money? The military industrial complex. They're making a lot of money. I hear that we're running out of missiles, which means that we're going to have to produce more. Here in Texas, they just opened up a USO facility that they're building unmanned submersibles in down here. I think it's outside of Brownsville, between Corpus and Brownsville. So that's big. In Arizona, they just opened up, I think it's called the American Eagles, which they've taken the Shahad drones, which, by the way, based ass name. If they didn't make it that, y'all should steal it and trademark it. If not, I'm going to trademark it for something. They fucking have the American Eagle drones that they're going to use, and they basically Americanize the Shahad. That's manufacturing. This seems to fall under Trump's plan of bringing us manufacturing back to the U.S., giving blue-collar jobs. And libs should like it. These are jobs people are probably going to have unions for many regards. Now, I don't like unions, but, in Texas, they won't have those unions. But at least for the other one, they potentially could. Why would you not like these things if you're on the left? Why do y'all hate manufacturing so much? Why is service jobs preferred? We'll start with you, Castle, because you
Oh no! You just trigger. Oh no!
I do. I love the military industrial complex. And actually, Gibbs, to your point, because I come from a state with a good amount of military contracts. When we first bombed Iran, when I was mentioning earlier to Spin about how we attacked their nuclear facilities, listen, those preemptive attacks to stop them from producing a nuclear weapon, I was totally fine with. And again, those are things that we use to pay money for service members and build these bombs and these missiles for. So that's always good for the military industrial complex. The problem I have with this is that we're starting to get into uncharted territory where it's starting to not just become a military exercise that benefits the U.S. It's starting to become something a little bit more deeper than that, and I'm worried that it's going to affect the global economy. And also, it doesn't matter if the military-industrial complex is winning if everybody else is losing. If everybody's winning, that's great. Like we did earlier with the nuclear strikes, that's fine with me. But once you start getting into a deeper war and it starts affecting the global economy, and if oil prices continue to go up, we will have a recession in the U.S. and it's going to affect jobs. Many people are going to start losing their jobs and people are going to be out of work. So that's a bad thing. I'm always fine if there are going to be things like what we did in Venezuela or what we were doing earlier in Iran, but this is just a bit too far for me. I don't think it's going to show any benefit long term. Like I said earlier, we just don't have a plan in place that I'm comfortable with or that seems to be clear-eyed from the president, because you can see the data points on this. The polling, it doesn't look good that the war in Iran is something that is very popular, and for good reason.
So strategic ambiguity is Trump's thing. 1. 2, the polling is rather mixed. The Harvard poll just came out. They had it at +2. The aggregate's sitting at 41 right now. I don't think it's that lopsided. It pretty much lines up with Trump's approval, like a lot of his policies do. If you like Trump, you like the war. If you don't like Trump, you don't like the war. Or as rare interventionists that just like every war. So I kind of forgot your first point. I had a rebuttal for it as well, so I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah, but even if you go on the aggregate, because I know there's always going to be one poll that looks good and one that looks bad, but the aggregate over time, you can't disagree that is a downward trend since it started. It started out more like even, and ever since the war started back a month ago, it's been on its way down on the aggregate, and it's just getting. I mean, there are some polls that have it -20 now, if you want to look at the extreme. So I just don't think that there's going to be any rebound there, and the American people want more answers on what the end goal is. I mean, do you know what the end goal is? Because I still don't know. Is it regime change? Is it about nuclear capabilities? I mean, I think it's regime change, but it seems like there's a ton of other things at play, and people are confused on what it really is.
The goal is, as they said, to eliminate Iran's ability to project power outside of its nation. They would have made that more difficult if they were allowed to establish their short-range
right?
rocket
that has
program.
already happened.
Yeah, you say that's already been accomplished, and like also there's clearly been messaging to the not about that. Like there's been messaging about, like, Marco Rubio said it was strictly about like nuclear weapons, didn't he? Like,
right.
Well, that fissile material is buried. Them not touching it again is part of the deal. On top of that, Israel's already pulled out half of their planes to go back to Lebanon to fight against Hezbollah, working with the Lebanese government. So Israel's already pulled out half their shit. The United States is saying, hey, we're just wrapping up. We ain't got much else to bomb. So yeah, it's pretty much over.
I mean, didn't Trump say like literally yesterday that we were going to continue doing stuff there? Don't we literally have troops on the fucking way still right now? It could be wrong.
So they've been negotiating behind the scenes the entire time. If you're privy with the 15-point plan that was presented to Pakistan about a week ago, and they're negotiating over that right now. Again, with the president working with them and saying they're allowing ships to destroy the Hormuz, I can see a bit of maybe lessening tensions in the next week or two.
The president, in its roughly 19-minute speech from the White House, said the U.S. will hit Iran extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Like, okay. Yeah. This is an article from today, bro. Like,
yeah, I watched the speech. If they don't comply and work with he didn't.
Did he indicate that at all? Do we? Yes. Why would I? First of all, why would I have any faith?
This is what the left does. They say only half of what the real message is. That's what the libtards and the left does.
True.
They leave out the most important.
What are we leaving out?
What is the most important thing? Now I'm hooked. Like you can't drop that line, and you can't.
Oh, I'm dropping it.
Okay, load me real quick. Right. I'm ready. All right.
Tyler, would you please reiterate exactly what you just said? And I will tell you where he fucked up.
I already forgot. No, he was talking about Trump's
That's the weed.
Trump did all. He's offering an.
We want a real paragon of professionalism here.
In every war, not just this one.
Okay, all right. So I'll say it.
Tyler's point was just that Trump apparently indicated that he's also negotiating and they could reach a deal before he has to do it or whatever.
That and what you left out was if they don't comply.
So I don't think I'm not like intentionally leaving anything out. So the prompt of the debate is,
then why didn't you say it? Why didn't you say it?
So the prompt of the debate is the Iran war bad for the economy? I'm generally not particularly interested in like foreign policy stuff. So given a prompt of debate and given who I am, I focus mostly on the economics of things. So it was my understanding from the stuff that I have seen that Trump indicated that he was earlier today that he was like doubling down on the war. I didn't watch the full speech or anything because I think I was sleeping when he gave it probably. But I'm not okay. I just didn't think
you should because it would help you understand what he said.
Sure, I didn't think that specific point was going to be relevant. I don't think. First of all, I don't think you. I kind of doubt you watched the speech, but maybe I'm wrong in that. I don't know.
I highly doubt that.
I'm not intentionally leaving anything out. I was giving Tyler my understanding of things based on what I've seen, and now he indicated that my understanding was missing. That apparently an aspect that Trump wants to reach a deal for Iran or whatever. Which I mean, I think the most likely outcome probably is some type of settlement or whatever, because Trump ultimately is going to end up wanting to walk away from Iran and have to deal with any like long-term consequences from it. But I'm not confident.
What would be the long-term consequences?
As in,
if
we had a prolonged presence there, it would probably the Strait of Hormuz would probably stay closed longer, so it would experience higher oil prices for a longer time. That has a insignificant chance of putting the U.S. into a recession. I think as the war goes on longer, it's likely that less and less people will continue to support it, especially if our involvement grows. It's more likely that more U.S. servicemen are going to die, and that eventually will become unpopular. So I think those would be the long-term consequences that he would want to avoid.
Ever since the start of this,
Well, okay, go ahead. Let's finish, and then I'll go to Castle.
I just had a question because I think I know the answer from Tyler. So spin, and I promise this will go somewhere. But what was the main or maybe one or two reasons that you voted for Trump? I'm assuming you voted for Trump in 2024. Like, what were the top two reasons?
Yeah. What were your reasons though?
Yeah, what were the reasons?
Well, the first one is a very obvious one. I don't want some degenerate, dementia-fied moron trying to run a country. I definitely did not want some cackling fucking idiot.
Don't vote for Gibbs.
Running
guys.
the
I'm going to be
country.
cackling when I
Gibbs, you
Alright, but
you would have my vote.
well,
But
Anyway.
any policy.
but just for the record, I am a cackling moron. So, me and Kamala might have that in common.
Oh, well, it's all right.
That's the only trait we have in common. No, I'm just kidding.
But are you going to sit up there and talk about your fucking grass and your your middle class lifestyle? No.
I might talk about some hoes, but who knows? All right, go ahead. Finish out your point.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Castle.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to know what your main reasons
So
for voting for Trump.
what's your second reason?
A lot of people would say economic reasons, but maybe for you it's not. But I think what my point was trying to get at was that you didn't vote for a war in the Middle East. I'm assuming you didn't vote for that because a lot of Trump voters didn't want a war in the Middle East. Now, I know that you think that Iran is some major country that's going to attack you in the middle of the night, and you're scared every night because Iran is going to nuke you and while you're in your bedroom. But when you went to the voting booth in 2024,
didn't know the
you
white
didn't
nationalist
actually
part.
believe that. You wanted a better economy, and a lot of Trump voters believe that Trump would be giving them that. Now you're going around and saying, well, short-term pain at the pump is worth some random Middle East country that nobody cares about for most of their lives is going to have a nuke, and they don't even have the ability to hit the US. They want to hit troops in the Middle East, they can, but we can always get out of the Middle East. So this is all made up reasoning for you. And you can admit that if you want, but I don't know if you're going to. But this has nothing to do with making the economy better for people around you, where they live, or yourself. The economy has not gotten better for you. You're paying more for gas, right?
Really?
You're paying more for everything.
Wait a minute.
But then I'm going to let Spin respond. Then I want to respond to that, even though I'm moderating. But go ahead.
Okay, Castle, what state do you live in?
I live in New York.
You missed a great opportunity to say like both of these or like Sagundis.
Okay, you live in New York City.
Maybe it depends. New York's a big state. There's a lot of rural
Okay,
areas in New York.
well, let's go to Mondummy.
Okay.
Wait, I'm going to go right back to it. I'm going to go right back to it. How did Mondummy make New York City great? Then ask yourself.
I don't think that's relevant.
Then ask yourself why I would vote for Trump. The last 4 fucking years, we were suffering in Florida, where you go 1 hour one way and 1 hour the other way, and we have all the fucking gas in the world. So ask yourself your own stupid question.
I'm going to answer your question though. You met some people. Some people.
I don't know if that answered it, but Gibbs.
Yeah, I'll try. All right. So it was economics and the not know the wars, right? So listen. I want y'all to understand something. See, right behind me, I read all the books. I actually just ordered Kamala's book, but I have all the books. I have all the Trump books. I have, some other books like Controversy Creates Cash. I got the prints over here. We got a lot of political science books underneath this thing. I like to read what these guys say because a lot of times, like Greg Abbott, by the way, I like Greg Abbott, but, I'll be honest, if he ever gets elected, you should read his book because it's all about his biography. Isn't really a biography so much as it is how he wants to change the U.S. Constitution to not be the U.S. anymore. And I find that pretty interesting. Yeah, you might want to read it. It's pretty crazy shit. I was a little shocked. But my point here with this is this: Trump since 1988 has said, if Iran acts up, I'm going to fucking take Kong Island. Like, he's said this consistently multiple times throughout the years, starting in 1988 with an interview the Guardian. Now, I hate this fucking bullshit point that people like counterpoints do. By the way, check out my clip of me owning his soul. We recently posted it. But he basically makes the argument that MAGA flip-flops. Now, some MAGA may see this as betrayal. I see this as Trump being consistent. Also, I'm obviously of the war hawk contingent of Trump. So, hell yeah. Secondly, my bigger voting thing is the economics. And absolutely, my personal economics have benefited greatly. A, because of the military-industrial complex talk, but B, other economic reasons. Like if I'm getting told by one side, "Fuck you, rich landowner," "Fuck you, rancher," that they clearly don't understand what ranching's like. We don't make a shitload of money off the ranching. I make money doing other things, and a lot of that money goes to support the ranching because we need beef, and I think that's important. I think that's what here with this one. This is another one. It's more of the stability aspect. It is about the oil. I disagree with Spin. I'll go fuck if they got the nukes. We don't care that Israel's got the nukes, and they're not exactly what I call rational actors all the time. We don't care that other countries have nukes. Like we only care about the nukes as a play, like a tool of negotiating, in my opinion. I guess it's scary that maybe like a terrorist organization could get a nuke or something. Or Iran, they're not really rational. They could maybe do something with the nuke. But like the idea of them getting one here, maybe setting it off. Like if they did that, we would just carpet bomb the little shit out of them, and there would be nothing there. Like that, the first time somebody nukes us, and we find out where they got it from, that's going to be the end of that country and every person in it. Like, and that sounds bad, but the U.S. has morals until we don't. And so when we're talking about the economics of it, like it's kind of like, yeah, I think it'd be more stable if we had not Iran there, because they're not on our team. They're part of this BRICS, or I guess it's SYNC now, like alliance. It's an alternative economic system to the U.S. I think it is going to hurt us short term with the inflation, kind of like what Noncon's saying at the end, because of the global supply. However, if we remove them from the region, like actually get a regime change, even if it's not a friendly U.S. one, the ability of them to supply their net axis of evil or whatever, or axis of resistance, is not going to be to the point that I think it's going to stabilize global prices. Now, if OPEC, they are part of OPEC, and if they do decide they're not going to do whatever, yeah, that might be bad for us because they might have more power. But I think Donfon even said himself, it's going to lead to more stabilization, and stabilization is good for the markets overall. That's kind of where I'm looking at it with this. And so I'm not part of the war, like, oh, no war's contingent. So like that really is all.
Yeah, I agree that could happen.
Right.
But my point is simply like, I think it's a very risky bet for ultimately the counterfactual, like not being that much of a kind of expected value gain. So like to be clear, for one,
okay.
I think.
I'll give it right back to you. Here's my like the thing with that right. Our current status is they are chaotic, right? And so I know you don't do the foreign policy, but we removed the Ba'ath Party from 3 countries basically, right? Syria, Iran, Iraq, and Libya. And so I think this ties into our overall foreign policy goal, which comes back to the economics. Say the Houthis, right? Let's just take out the Houthis. The Houthis are going to exist without the Iranians. If they don't get the funding, they're much less going to be able to attack the shipping in the long term. And I think that even if we get like the most chaotic state that replaces Iran, they're not going to have the facilities built to produce all the weapons that Iran's had, even in the short term. Like, I think that, like, would you disagree with that, Nonfon?
Not so. I guess but it's just simply like to the extent that we've already removed a lot of Iran's power, which I agree we have over the course of the last like 20 years or whatever. And it's like then I think you just kind of lower the benefit of getting rid of their current regime. So I think even the Houthis, I could be wrong. Like the Houthis have been relatively muted since Trump kind of he bombed them heavily in the first part of his term, and then I think we kind of stopped doing that. So my understanding, the Houthis have not even contributed that much to like this current conflict. Maybe I'm mistaken in that, but certainly not many people talking about them.
So you're saying that bombing worked with making the Houthis attack shipping?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether or not bombing the Houthis was.
It didn't really work because the only reason the Houthis stopped attacking ships was because we came up with a ceasefire.
Yeah,
I thought it was because
I'm sorry, I got to agree with Cass. Yes, I'm sorry.
There was a bit of a ceasefire, but we are also working with the Yemenis government to take back the land the Houthis have taken. Because like the Hezbollah, the Houthis, and a lot of these smaller groups and nations are anti their own governments. They carve out their own zones that are autonomous to the governments of their state. So Lebanon is currently working with Israel to push back against Hezbollah, and the Houthis are currently working, or the Yemenis government is currently working with the U.S. and Israel to push back the Houthis. So there is a ceasefire in the Strait of Hormuz, but they're still fighting on the ground.
But that's
sure,
my
and I think my understanding
is that when you think about a lot of the splintering that would happen, let's say Iran, we get a government. Who's to say that parts of Iran we don't see people start splintering off and starting terrorist cells like they did in Syria, like they did in Iraq, and then ISIS formed. So you could even have a coherent government in Iran. It doesn't mean that these groups are going to happen.
I've been trying to make this point.
Hold on. I just want to.
Because I'm going to go a different way. Finish it up.
respond to what Gibbs said earlier and touch on some of the other things. So I just think, like, I think it is a highly uncertain event going into Iran and doing anything. I think, our ability to accomplish regime change is highly uncertain. I think the ability to, if there is regime change, have significant influence over that regime, although I think we likely would. I think even that's uncertain. I think that very well could go wrong, and I think there very well could be misleading thing or like splintering factions. And I think, so the comparisons we have to do, I think it's for oil prices. We're comparing oil prices before the war started and the trend that they were on before the war started versus oil prices in a world where Iran has a new government, probably less sanctions, but it's also still part of OPEC, so they can reduce production to increase the price, which they probably would.
But OPEC's part of like our U.S. petrodollar, right? Like that's like they're kind of like our little. They're a cartel, but they're our cartel.
I think Iran's only an OPEC plus.
They might only be an OPEC plus, but
I mean,
I thought they were a full member. Regardless, I think they cooperate to reduce production to increase prices. I think, but
I'm gonna.
Before you change the topic, though,
I'm not changing. I'm just gonna make a big point.
Okay.
But I think that's a counterfactual there. It's not clear. Like, I don't think oil prices in the future, in a situation where everything goes perfectly, would be like significantly reduced to the trend that they're on now, because Iran's still going to be a member of OPEC. Although there's going to be less sanctions, it's going to take years for them to ramp up production. And I think, they peaked at like 6 million barrels of oil per day or something. I think they're at like 3 or 4 million right now, or prior to the war. So I don't like, it's a non-negligible amount of oil that they could theoretically produce or whatever, but it's not like so significant that I think it's worth taking this risk for. With regards to like regional stability, I guess like I can see a benefit for that in like humanitarian terms. I'm not certain the economic effects are like that significant for the US. I think insofar as you keep like the Strait of Hormuz and like shipping lanes open, that can be beneficial. But like, I'm not sure, like, for example, how big of an impact on the U.S. economy, like, getting rid of Assad had. I don't think it was like that big.
Well, before we go to Tyler, that Don Fon kind of did it, but Castle activated my trap card because everybody goes, "Oh, ISIS so bad, they're real bad."
That's what I'm going to get into.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna turn it over to you, but this, and I know I'm the moderator, guys. I'm being a bad moderator for a second. I'm gonna turn into a prime and give an opinion, but it's only because my trap card was activated. Oh, ISIS are bad. They're real bad, boys. They're killing all of these people. You know who's worse than ISIS? 3 countries unifying to form a super state that's going to control African currency, control oil, and have a strong military, and then control that little Red Sea or whatever. Not the Red Sea. Whatever sea is right there attached to Syria. This is the problem. That was a problem. That was what was about to happen. We were going to have the Ba'ath Party, and all 3 countries joined up. And you know what? Bush looked like an idiot when he went in there. Everybody said for 20 years, he was real dumb. Real dumb. It was
I think
so
only
bad,
the Houthis
so
probably
bad.
really have a noticeable impact on U.S. national welfare.
ISIS is so terrible. Him and Obama, they did it real so bad. But guess what? Looks like Bush was all right. ISIS is gone. They're a lot weaker than that 3-country state. Now they're gone. We got a weaker terrorist country.
We're shitting on my point.
Yeah, and so like it's been ass whoopings all around. Iran is so evil and so bad. Let me tell you, they did something. They did something that nobody in our lifetime I thought would happen. If you had told me 10 years when Nanfan was swaddled, or getting his diaper swaddled like as a child, that hey, the Iranians would have made all these countries hate him to the point that Israel is working hand in hand like best friends with fucking Saudi Arabia to kill the fucking Houthis, I would have laughed in your face, and I would have told somebody to call CPS and take their child away from them. But no, now it's happening. Bush was vindicated. Go ahead, Tyler. Tyler wanted to steal my point. I'm not going to let
If you would have just waited for me to talk, you could have remained an impartial moderator.
Yeah,
you could have made it. You could have remained an impartial moderator. So this didn't just start at Bush. This started at the Cold War. The Cold War used to be the United States' enemy. We fought a 20-year battle over all of Asia and several parts of the world against them. The Cold War, we won. This giant enemy turned into a bunch of smaller states. Now these smaller states are significantly nerfed in comparison. Each one of them is a joke. Iran in the 60s, or was it the 50s maybe? They were socializing multiple industries. They were starting to nationalize their oil industry, their hospitals, several other things, because the majority of their government was the communist Russia. We intervened to stop that. That ended up getting taken over by a Shah 20 years later. This caused this massive event. But make no mistake, that Shah has been propped up by communism. This is a result. But when they came into power, they were this massive world power. They were taking over planes in Africa, invading other countries, bombs in Argentina. They attacked the United States multiple times. Like, this was a powerhouse of terrorism. And over the last 30, 40, 48 years, through the war on terror that everyone hates because George Bush and blah, 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 it's been a massive success. We're at the point where these terrorist organizations, as Obama said, are the JV squad in comparison. So we're talking about, instead of an entire nation that's supplying China, supplying Russia with drones, with fucking oil, all we have are these tiny splinter factions that are going to do what exactly, because most of their munitions are destroyed. I would much rather have a bunch of smaller little mini ISISes popping up in Iran than an entire nation dedicated to the ability to destroy its enemy.
I don't think you can claim it's going to have like a significantly positive impact on the economy in that case. Like I think you're probably going to see, if anything, like less oil production in that case, and trade could maybe be, you know, easier to do. But at the same time, I think the willingness of those like type of splinter groups or whatever to like bomb ships and to not negotiate is probably, they're probably a lot more willing to do that than the Iranian government.
Most of their long-range rocket launchers are destroyed. It's something like 75%.
They don't need long range to attack ships in the Strait of Hormuz, right?
You do, yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to go up in the mountains and try to shoot rockets at it, you can, but those rockets might not even do damage. Yeah, you need to use missiles on those motherfuckers. Generally, they don't even sink ships. 2 days ago, the last one was on the 30th.
Sure.
It hit a Kuwaiti ship, and it just caused their ship fire, and then they kept moving. Like the biggest thing that's sorry.
No, you're good. I mean, to you and Gibbs, my point about splinter cells and these terrorist groups isn't that they're more important than Iran. I still think that obviously Iran is the bigger threat. But my point was saying that that's a risk that will happen, that could happen from this. And look at over time, people in this country, every time that we've gone overseas to protect the U.S. from terrorism, it's been because groups like Al Qaeda and ISIS have popped up because they directly harm U.S. citizens. 9/11 wasn't Iran. That was an Al Qaeda terrorist group that formed because we drove out people in Afghanistan, and fucking Osama bin Laden was pissed at what we were doing in Palestine. So you can't not be afraid of these things happening because you have these groups who then post on social media. They get people inside the U.S. who are U.S. citizens to do their bidding for them in this country. So that's what people are worried about here. They're not worried about Iran attacking them. They're worried about terrorists.
Let me ask you this question. All right, terrorists are bad. I think we can all agree terrorism.
Sure.
Not good.
Vigilante TV in the chat says the United States are the terrorists. He can't tell the difference.
True.
Yeah.
And
well,
what is he smoking?
Well, don't worry. He's right, but I'll explain the difference. Why there's a difference, right? One, it's an important one. See, these three countries, when they were formed, this Bath country, this super country, potentially, they would have been on par with basically Europe. That's like a continent. Like, that's like, when people talk about multipolarity, this would have been a multipolarity wet dream, right? They would have potentially controlled the fucking, what is the canal that's the Suez Canal? They could have potentially controlled like all this stuff. Like, this would have been a fucking problem. They have the oil resources of Iraq. They have the fucking weaponry of Iraq, the fourth largest military at the time. They had chemical weapons. The Syrian military wasn't totally a joke at the time, before they lost their backers. Libya was an issue, took 2 administrations to get fucking Gaddafi out. Like, that's one thing. ISIS bad, bin Laden bad, but, I don't fear for the country, like the fear that the terrorists are going to bring down the U.S. What people have to understand is that, yeah, it's scary sometimes when you remove a power and you get chaotic bad actors, but that scale of threat is fine. Like, you might be friends with this country for years, and all of a sudden they fucking decide to go Germany 1939 on your ass. Like, and then, like, that's a bigger problem, right? Like, Mexico.
Gibbs, they might not be able to take the U.S. down, but they're going to start making us take they fucking made us take our shoes off at the airport.
What am I supposed to take away from this?
Sure,
even?
That
small splinter cell.
What are we doing?
Security apparatus. They made us sign the Patriot Act.
Maybe we got too soft. I mean, but like a cartel is not the same as like Mexico, like coming in and trying to invade or something, right? Like, they're bad, but they don't have the backing of a whole country behind them, right? Like, this is like, you see the scale of threat. I get that. We in America, I'm going to say it, we've got too fucking soft. We've got too soft and a little terrorist, real scam. You know what happened after the Charlie Hebdo thing here in Texas? You know what we did? We had a draw Muhammad contest in Texas. And sure enough, they tried to kill some people at that contest. And you know what happened to them? They got shot like by 6 different people. So I'm just saying, maybe don't be so soft like the rest of it. Y'all should be more like Texas. You know, after that Austin, you know who shot that Austin guy that was shooting people up? An off-duty security guard, not a cop, some off-duty fucker. Listen, that's what we need. We need more Texas mentality, rest of the nationwide. Sorry, now we're done with that. But y'all can discuss. I feel
We
like
need
you have
more Texas in. We need more Texas in America and more guns.
Yeah, more
Period.
guns. Yeah, and then we can have more American gunmen.
Am I allowed to say that? Are we safe?
Yeah, I say it literally every stream.
Okay,
But,
I didn't know if we were on that. That
don't
certain
worry, I will handle. We're on Twitch. I'll handle anything that's gonna get us banned. Well, except for TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. I don't know. What
I'm just not. I'm not entirely sure what like exactly what I'm supposed to take away from it though. So I recognize like the principle. Like you can do some type of. I mean, I'm using autistic econ terms, but you can invest in the stock of a regional stability or whatever in order such that you can hopefully get a flow of cheaper oil or less volatility in oil prices or more stable trade routes. And in principle, I can think that sometimes it is worth it to do that. I think that it is in fact the case that in principle there have been times where it is in fact worth it to do that. What I'm simply saying here is that with regards to the current Iran war, and I think probably with regards to some historical, at least some aspect of the war on terror as well, you're investing in the stock, which is Iranian regime change or some negotiated deal with Iran in order to get a flow. But the flow that we're going to get is just not that different from what I think the counterfactual would be. Now, what the flow is dependent on exactly what happens with Iran. If it's some settlement with the current regime, then, not sure exactly what effect that would have on regional stability.
You don't see this as like just a nation state version of Rockefeller economics. Like that's the most American thing ever is Rockefeller economics. You don't see us basically just doing that, but instead of being nice, we're just like, okay, if you don't do this, we're gonna bomb you and then buy it back and rebuild it at dirt cheap. Like you don't see it as like kind of like this maxed out.
But I think what I'm saying is I just don't think. I think it's uncertain what the outcome is going to be, and there are a lot of outcomes that could happen that are probably net bad, especially if you don't just consider the economy, but also just consider probably the human cost of it as well, both to U.S. soldiers and Iranian civilians and such. But most of the outcomes I think are just not substantially different than what we had before. I think like absolute best case scenario, you get like more stable trade routes and a little bit cheaper oil, but that's just like not the risk of it going poorly and us having less stable trade routes and much more expensive oil is just way too high. And that's why investors are freaking out. Like it would be priced in again if people expected it to go well.
So I have a question. I have a question. Mr. Sharkfin over there. Do you drive a vehicle?
Am I Mr. Sharkfin?
The costume in the back says it all.
That's a shrimp, but
shrimp. I'm sorry. Sorry.
I do drive a vehicle.
Okay.
He's an activist.
What would be your sensible price for gasoline?
I don't know what you mean by sensible.
What is sensible?
Under $3 in normal conditions per gallon.
Would you say it's sensible right now?
Actually, I'm not. I bought gas recently. I don't think. Last time I went, it was not that bad. It was a little over $3 a gallon, I think. But
okay, here in Central Florida, we're paying $4.29, and that was as of yesterday. Is that sensible?
I don't know what sensible means. So, given the fact that we are
define, would you like me to look up the Webster's dictionary term of sensible?
Nobody wants that.
I just don't like it's sensible in the sense that it makes sense that when you restrict the supply of oil, when people bid the price of oil up, and that price at the gas station is probably a fairly like efficient price. I don't have a reason to believe that's significantly diverging from market equilibrium, except insofar as gas is a negative externality that we don't like price in. But like I would think that it is sensible in that sense.
Price it in. But they do price it in.
They don't. So there's a gas tax, but that's not really pricing in the negative externality of like climate change.
I yield.
I'll answer your question. Why?
I'm gonna respond to chat and I'll tell you. Yes. So just to be clear, it wouldn't be ethnic cleansing, vigilante. It would be glassing, akin to what like the Covenant do in Halo, where they just like turn the area into glass. Like I don't know if there's a word for that. I feel like genocide is just not harsh enough for what would happen if we got nuked by somebody. And that's why it's not terrorism, because if there's nobody left to be in terror, you're not terrorizing them. But go ahead, Castle.
I mean, I'm hoping we don't even get to that point, but we would know if they were going to nuke us beforehand.
Let's hope
we would know. We'll be fine, everybody. But the U.S. has got this. No, I mean, I was going to say to kind of answer your point about the economy piece, and then maybe even answer some of Spin's question. But like a month ago, Gibbs, we had military-industrial complex strong as hell. We still supporting people in Ukraine to an extent. We were bombing nuclear facilities. We took over Venezuela's political reign of terror from Maduro. So we had both oil prices at $60. We had military industrial. Why did we want to ruin a good thing? Trump was actually doing things at a certain level that was actually achieving a perfect equilibrium for everybody. I mean, even when I was on this economic panel a month or whatever ago, as a liberal, you have to admit $2 gas prices in Texas or wherever you were was a great thing for the economy. It was a good thing for people. Now you got this guy spending, I think he's in Florida, it's $4, it's $4 in New York, whatever. It's almost double the price. So that's my point, is like, why did we have to stray away from a good thing we were doing? We were still hitting Iran, but we weren't invading Iran. And I think that's the difference, where people aren't liking what we're doing militarily now than what we were doing a month ago, because we're seeing the economic effects from it, and it's hurting people and their wallets. So that's my point. It's like, we can still have those points you made about oil, taking over oil, and then also the military industrial complex being supplied without it hurting everybody else, right? That's my point.
Okay, so not being a liberal by no fucking stance, what is the problem with American-made jobs?
Well, generally,
I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem.
Generally, I can answer it real quick, because all three of us are liberal technically. So
I know.
I would say generally the problem with American-made jobs in the grand scheme of things is we have very high demands, we have high taxes, we have a more inflated currency, we have a bunch of regulations here, et cetera, worker protections, consumer protection. So it's significantly more expensive to have a job in the United States rather than have one overseas, where a lot of those things don't exist and they make $2 an hour.
True. So the problem with it is that generally it's like, what's the problem with growing my own food? It's like, well, I could spend all my time subsistence farming, but I have more productive use cases elsewhere, and there are gains from people specializing in different things because of opportunity cost and because of economies of scale. So there are also gains from one big farm farming a ton of crops for everyone. There's because of the fixed costs they have to build out, rather than a bunch of individuals investing in fixed costs that's relatively inefficient, and there are gains from specialization and scale and other things as well, which are not worth getting into right now. But that's generally the issue with that. And it's not the jobs is jobs is kind of the wrong thing to focus on. You should just focus on like overall welfare. It's possible that a policy could lead to a net job loss and still benefit everyone overall. Insofar as like if consumers massively benefited, for example, we're all consumers as well as producers at our jobs, right? If you have one at least, and then there's no reason to like a lot of globalization, whatever evil stuff you think it is, a lot of that probably increases net jobs because it increases growth. People specialize in what they're good at. They get more productive. Their wages go up. Growth overall increases. So there are more jobs.
God forbid somebody does manual labor.
So for one, I think regardless of whether you trade or not, people are probably going to do less manual labor, because that's just a general trend that you see in countries, is that the like manufacturing share of employment it follows an inverted U-shaped path, because demand for all manufactured goods, like at the very broad sector level, is relatively inelastic. When manufacturers get more productive, which happens everywhere, you can look at manufacturing productivity in the US, it went up all the way until like 2008, I believe it stagnated. That drives prices for manufactured goods down because they can produce it more cheaply. But because the demand at the sector level is relatively inelastic, the price goes down, but the number of units sold or whatever doesn't go up by the same amount, which means essentially manufactured goods sell less and less as as a percentage of the whole economy, as a percentage of income, which slowly drives employment towards the service sector.
Okay, so what product would you more likely buy? An American-made product or a Chinese product?
America.
It depends.
Unions.
I don't know what you mean. Technically, if you just say more
You
likely
mean,
buy, I
it's
would
a
guess
very
that of the
simple
things I'm looking
question,
at right
Bonehead.
now, more things are made in China than made in the U.S.
That's not the question. Listen to the question.
It's a meaningless question.
Would you? It is not a meaningless question. Would you rather buy a Chinese product or a U.S. made product?
Are they am I holding all else equal?
It's a question. It's yes or no.
Is all else equal?
Probably not in price or quality. No, just just a variation. Like a $40
So
Chinese
I would
TV
imagine
or
the
$100
reason,
American TV.
again, if I look at everything around me, I bet more of this stuff was made in China than in the U.S. Or at least other countries. I think this microphone is it's in some European country or whatever. My headphones, I believe, were made in China. I'm sure the shrimp costume made in China or in Indonesia or something. Okay, the Biden head was made in America. That was made with union-made American.
Would you
labor.
spend
I
more?
figured that was that dementia-ridden idiot back there, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Would you spend more to
TV was
support
probably made in
unions?
China.
Would you spend more to
not
support unions?
That's a better question.
not necessarily.
Tyler,
there
to
might be
answer-
some.
Tyler,
There might be
to answer
some
your question,
unions.
yes, I would.
Wow, there might be some unions that I would
I don't
do that
believe
for,
that.
but not many of them. But regardless, I'm simply
I would rather
the
seek
reason
out and support the country. I would rather seek out and support the country that I live in than to
Wait.
support China.
So two things. Number one.
Hop on. Wait.
Okay.
No, wait. Where was your Make America Great Ahead made? Where was that made?
Hold on.
Where was that hat made?
Unironically, one was made in America, the other was made in fucking Taiwan or something.
I mean, it could be made in America. I just want to see because a lot
Well,
of them were made in
I know
China.
because after he got made fun of about it, he fucking
Yeah.
Did he change
No.
it? Maybe he did.
I just want to loop this back to my introduction here.
Well,
where
hold on,
Don's
just
talking
real quick.
about-
So two things. One, I'm not I believe that you are helping the U.S. overall by engaging in broadly globalistic policies, right? I think outsourcing to the extent we do it or whatever helps the U.S. overall. It helps consumers a lot. It drives up wages.
No, you're not.
I know you can disagree,
you're
but I
not.
just want to make clear the argument
you're
is
not.
that you are helping the U.S. by doing so overall, right? So that
Okay. So the only benefit to the United States is the import tax.
No. What the only benefit to the United States is the import tax? I don't know what the hell you mean by that.
What is America? What is America making off of a Chinese import?
Tons of
So
tax
the
money.
consumer,
Significant
the consumer,
Tax money. That's
the
what I just
consumer-
fucking said.
No,
That's what I
so-
just
so the
fucking
consumer-
Not just the import level.
Okay,
It's-
taxes.
it trickles
Okay,
down.
let's use fucking horse ass
the consumer is benefiting because they get a good that's of some mix of price and quality preferable to an equivalent good made in some other country or made in America. And then overall, what that does is it lets production be reallocated. It lets the U.S. essentially specialize in what we're best at or what we have the most scale in. It lets people become software developers rather than making trinkets. Right? There's a lot more value added. And
behind a computer, just like you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm on IT too. What we do is essentially what he's saying. We take all of our shitty labor jobs that nobody wants to do that don't really pay really good, and we export them to poor people that only make $2 an hour. And then we get the cool tech jobs and service jobs, which isn't bad for our economy, actually. It's really working in the AI sector right now. It's blowing up for people working in fixing equipment. But at the end of the day, to loop this back to my introduction, this system Non-Fun is talking about relies upon global stability and trade. It's a very important factor. You're not going to send your ships out
Tyler,
there.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But what I'm disagreeing with, or what I am disagreeing with, is shut up, Gibbs.
I'm getting ready for something here, so go ahead.
I figured. What I disagree with is if we can manufacture something in the United States, that the proceeds would predominantly, I'm not saying for all or all parts, right? It would stay in the United States.
Okay,
We
what
wouldn't be
happens? What
sending
happens
money
when you
to
buy?
fucking
What
China.
happens? What happens when you buy a Chinese good? Can you? Here's
The profit, the profit goes to China. It doesn't come here.
Why? Okay, so
Dumbass.
you give your dollar to China, and then what? China has that dollar. Do they spend that dollar in China? Can you spend dollars in China?
Don't argue semantics.
This is not
The
semantics. You're
currency-
misunderstanding. There's not a.
it is
There's not
fucking
a.
semantics.
Wait,
because the dollar can be spent in China. A U.S. dollar is worth more in weight in gold in China.
Wait, how do you
than
wait,
it
go
is
go
in
to
China.
go to a Chinese shop and try to pay in dollars? 9 times out of 10, they're gonna reject you because it's not their currency.
I disagree highly.
Okay, so that's
Why?
interesting.
Okay, look at any fucking video.
The point is when you quote unquote
they want
give, when you
American
quote, unquote,
dollars to pay for something than their own currency because the American currency
that's
is
true.
worth more.
That's kind of it's a little complicated that, but regardless.
Shut up, you stuttering idiot! I just won. I
don't
won.
think that's true. It's like it's like do I want to spend the time going down what real exchange rates are and what PPP is to you?
All
like,
I heard you do is
not,
stutter over your fucking words.
True, because I'm deciding whether or not it's worth like trying to go down that route with you. But what I'm getting
It is
at more
absolutely
generally,
worth it because it's factual.
I think you should explain PPP to him.
So PPP, purchasing power parity, is how we adjust for the cost of living between countries, basically. So you are correct in that $1 like can probably buy more in China than
No shit. That's what I just said.
Okay. So,
If
but
you
that's
walk
different.
into
That's
a
a little bit
Chinese
different
fucking
than the.
shop,
That's how
if I walk into a Chinese shop and say I have American dollars, and the item is $5. That $5 is worth more than what their own currency is worth. So of course they're going to accept your American currency.
What I'm saying is we make that equivalent with PPP and with real exchange rates, right? So like when really what's happening, and the point I'm getting at here, is when you buy a good from China, usually there's an intermediary in between, but we're going to ignore that for the sake of this example. Really what you're doing is you're buying Chinese dollars. You give your dollars to someone, usually in real life is some intermediary.
I'm buying a fucking stick of gum.
So in order to do that, you usually need the Chinese currency because people in China want Chinese dollars because they pay their government's taxes in Chinese dollars and the rest of the people around them accept Chinese dollars. You give your dollars to someone, to some currency exchange or some banking intermediary, and they give you Chinese dollars. They now have those dollars still, and they will either give those dollars to someone who wants to buy a U.S. good, or take those dollars and buy a U.S. asset with it, like a bond or a stock or some other type of investment. The money, there's no like magic money converting machine that changes your dollar.
Physical goods. I'm talking about physical goods.
Right. Hold on. Let me take what he's saying, and I'm going to translate to non-font. And
please fucking do.
Yeah, because I think that there is actually something here of substance that you're saying, and I think that non-font's maybe missing it, because I know the audience is. So I'm going to try, and all right, so say I go to, like, Guatemala non-font, and I know you know what I'm talking about when you're talking about the PPE, the real exchange rate, and all that good jazz. That's also true. Part of the United States power, and I don't think you actually disagree with this, non-font, and I think this is part of what he's trying to get at, is the fact that they use a lot of these places, like say if I'm in Guatemala, they'll take the dollar amount, the actual dollar amount that I give you. So say they'll have their stick of gum, it'll be like 3 pesos, and which is like, I don't know, 30 cents American, and I give them $1 and I get like, I don't know, 3 pieces of gum or like whatever, right? And they're going to take the dollar because they're going to keep the cash because they want it as the reserve currency. Everybody there will also accept the dollar. I don't know if China is the perfect example for it, but like everybody will keep the dollar. They can go to the bank, they can get it transferred back over. The dollar is worth more and has more holding power than their own currency itself. I think that's kind of what he's like getting at, if I'm correct. Yeah. And
I don't think he understands.
You don't really disagree with him, but yeah. So why? What are you saying? Because I know that you know that as well. Like
I don't think he understands that U.S. dollars ultimately end up buying U.S. goods or doing investment in the U.S. And now there are reasons why maybe sometimes you don't think it's preferable that we buy a Chinese good and then the money we use to buy the Chinese good ends up in a U.S. bond or whatever. Like maybe you think that increases our government's ability to borrow too much and we essentially borrow cheaply, and that's bad because it increases our incentive for the government to borrow, right? So like maybe that's bad or whatever. But like, I don't think he understands that ultimately the balance of payments, guys, is equal to zero. It is true. Like I'm sure there are people out there who, if you go up to them and give them U.S. money, they will accept it. But typically, that's equivalent to roughly like $800 billion, I think, annually, which is like less than 1% of GDP. But to the extent that happens, even think about that, right? That's just a zero interest loan to the US, because what you're doing is you're giving them $1, and then usually when that happens, like I said, they exchange that dollar for an interest bearing asset, which means someone in the US has an obligation to pay out the interest to them at some point in time. But if they're just stuffing dollars under their mattress, no one in the US has an obligation to pay them interest over time. So that just amounts to a zero interest loan to the US. So even that is not like necessarily bad or anything. But what I'm saying is, it's not like the profit is only going to China or whatever. One, because there are gains from specialization and gains from scale and gains from their network effects and relational capital and yada, yada, yada. But also because ultimately US dollars will buy US goods or buy US investments.
So, fuck, I forgot my point.
Yeah, a lot of that going around here. Today. I see.
Sure.
Okay. So I was going to argue this for Spin. Spin, I would say a better argument in this instance is we don't want to not offshore a lot of these shittier jobs. We want to make sure if it's with an adversarial nation like China, they can't undercut us in some way, like the steel industry. They'll artificially deflate their currency to fuck with exchange rates so they can suck more money out of it.
That's true.
They do. They've done it multiple times. It's been well recorded.
Do you think if China, Tyler, do you think if China...
Let me make the point first. So on top of that, have stolen hundreds of billions of dollars worth of IP from us. They just do not respect our IP laws, which is in every single trade deal. They do all sorts of shit. They devalue the price of their steel. They find ways around our tariff and things like that. And a lot of it involves Iran, them escaping our pipeline of trade. So I would again argue that like national security is a big factor here. We don't want China to completely crush our steel industry, even if it costs us a little more. This is something that I saw Marco Rubio argue over sugar. We don't want this is a critical industry to fall into the hands of an enemy that could use it against us. So we have to spend a little more to keep at least an infrastructure in the United States to make sure that if a war ever breaks out with X country, whatever, we're not completely deprived of the material. So that would be a limit.
I bet the sugar farmers paid a lot for that. Hold on, to be clear, I haven't seen good evidence that China deflates the price of their steel. Steel is an industry with very high fixed costs, so depending on demand, it makes sense even to sell below marginal cost at some points in time if there's a slump in demand, because there's very high fixed costs. It makes sense for you to continue production and to sell at a loss minimizing rate. I haven't seen good evidence to do that. The IP. Okay, I mean, you can send it. It's possible they do it. I just haven't seen good evidence of it. The IP, I think it's the case where there's at least some decent evidence of it. But with regards to the currency, it's true that China pegs their currency to the US dollar, but like ultimately, there's just when it comes to trade, what matters is real exchange rates, and what ultimately matters is the macro effects of things. So essentially, Tyler, I'd ask, like, do you think it would be bad if it would be like currency manipulation if China were to like cut taxes by $250 billion or something?
Not necessarily, no. If there's certain ways you can do these things right and wrong. Like, we have laws in the United States to prevent the things that they do on the world stage.
Right, but what I'm pointing to
I just real quick,
I just want to finish out this one thing. So we get most of what people mean by currency manipulation or whatever is other countries buying U.S. assets or U.S. reserves or bonds or whatever to try to keep their currency within a certain range. And there are a few different countries that do that for a few different reasons. But ultimately, the effects of them doing that is not any different than the effects of them cutting taxes, and then the people who now have more money choosing to save that money in the US by buying bonds. So like things that we count as currency manipulation will have this exact same effect as something that everyone views as totally fine, which is just cutting taxes, right? Like it's not clear that it's harmful or like, or at least not substantially harmful or like even like substantially different from any other policy countries do all the time.
Let's go. Are you ready for a waiver citation about to come to the chat?
I
Sure.
want you to, yeah, sure. You do that. All right, go ahead and spin, and then we're gonna wrap up here pretty soon. So go ahead, spin, and say what ask your question, and we'll see how long that takes.
Again, I asked the question: would you rather buy an American product than a Chinese product with all the diatribe and the Gen Z bullshit that you just shoveled?
I don't know what that means. So all else
It
equal,
depends what's cheaper.
I wouldn't really care. But
It would
Chinese,
be right, because you would never want to buy it, or you probably never will buy it. What I'm saying is, if I were to go into Walmart and I see an American-made product, I would buy that over a Chinese product for these reasons. I am
hold on, just real quick. In the chat, Tyler, I never
United
disagree.
States.
I never disagree that the U.S. is designated
never
China as a
answered
currency
the fucking
manipulator, and
question.
I never disagree that China does purchase U.S. assets
You
to keep
didn't answer the
its exchange rate within a
question.
certain range. I agree. I agree that China does this. I never disagreed with it. That's literally, it wouldn't make sense for me to say this has the exact same effect as cutting taxes, unless they were currently putting their savings into U.S. bonds via their central bank, right? Like I recognize that they do it.
I
I'm
don't
just
give
saying.
a fuck about central bonds. I don't care about
True.
currency exchange. What I am asking about is, would you buy an American-made product over a Chinese product?
Well, I'll
Answer the fucking question.
I'll
That's
answer that.
not.
If it's comparable price range, but I mean by that, if it's like within like $1 margin or something, maybe. But if it's like, oh, the Chinese product is like 90% as good or 80, I'll go with 70% as good. And if 70% is good and it's 25% the cost, I gotta break it to you. Papa Gibbs is American, and you know what helps Americans? Me saving more money. So I'm gonna go buy the 25% one for 70% is good, and I'm gonna spend my money on other things here. Like I would love to buy American, but that's part of the American thing is like why we need the manufacturing here. So if we want to build widget F, then we need to build widget F at a comparable price.
That is where, Gibbs, that is exactly where the fuck I was going with it, but I couldn't get the idiot to fucking answer the question.
Yeah, Papa Gibbs, this is not forget Papa Gibbs' first time hosting the panel. We lead people here sometimes to water. And speaking of leading people to water, we're gonna lead y'all to closings now, so that we can, because we are gonna do another show, guys. As soon as we're done, I'm gonna put up an ending screen for like 15 seconds and switch to a pause, and we're gonna move over to a different thing. It's gonna be good. It should be about I don't know, objective morality. And if y'all have ever watched the Papa Gibbs stream, we know that I have opinions about morality. And it's going to be real entertaining. So let's start backwards this time, I think, with all our people. Non-file, why don't you give a closing? Give us a good depth of what are you thinking, where to find you, and what you got coming up as well. So go ahead
Of course.
and close out.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's just maybe this is too autistic econ framing, but like the investment in the stock here, the war that we're doing in Iran or whatever, I think is considering the uncertainty of the outcomes and considering I think even the best outcome is not even that great. It's just not worth. It's just essentially not worth doing. And I think if it was worth doing, you wouldn't see asset prices tanking as much as they are because investors would realize that it could have good outcomes and they would essentially price it in. It is important to have stable trade routes. It is important to have regional stability. I can conceive of strikes in Iran that I would support, but I think the best case scenario here is like is Iran with a more friendly government or a different government that is producing more oil, maybe, but they're also in OPEC, so that's probably going to offset it. And I just don't think that counterfactual is substantially different than the trend that we were on before. Nor do I think even with regional stability, the trend is substantially different because we have already, to a large degree, we can even prior to this war, weaken Iran's influence in the region. So considering, I think if the war went badly, you could end up destabilizing the region even more. It's just not quite worth the risk. But yeah, I'm NonFon. I stream on YouTube at NonFon, where you can watch a bunch of my old debates as well, mostly about economic stuff. And I streamed a Twitch kick and Twitter at NonFun420, where I also ship posts and stuff. So I'll be streaming for a bit after this still. So come check me out. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much, Non-Fun. Mr. Spin City, he's a newcomer here this week to give me a break. It's very entertaining. Give us your thoughts here, your closing thoughts, and where to find you and what you got going on.
Thank you very much. It was very fun arguing with a bunch of liberals. I seek that and find amazing. that the difference of opinion is great. Do I think the war in Iran has one mission?
Thanks for the follow.
Maybe not.
It
However, is it good for the economy in the United States? Absolutely. I believe that through weakness we grow stronger. The weaker the weaker another country is, the United States grows stronger. I am Spin City News. I am America First. I believe that we should keep our jobs in America. We should produce things in America. We should not be helping some other fucking country. Not no communist bullshit. Period. End of story. You can find me over on YouTube at Spin City News, X, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, all Spin City News. And thank you, Mr. Gibbs, for letting me come up here and destroy the shrimp in a costume. I need to see.
I see a future debate like in my head, maybe for the DCS of about child labor laws and how base child labor is. I think that would be. I bet I'm willing to wager that you and Non-Fod share different opinions on that one, and it might be entertaining. Let's go to Castle here. What you got going on? Who are you and all that good jazz?
Yeah, well, thanks again, Gibbs, for having me on. It was good discussion. It was nice to see Spin for the first time. I agree. Like, I like different opinions. So whether you agree or disagree, is always good to have a conversation like this. You can find me at Castle Guard YT on Twitter. I'm usually tweeting. I do some YouTube, Twitch stuff. Same under the same name, Castle Guard. But anyway, to kind of like wrap this up, it was a wide spanning discussion today. I didn't think we would even get into the Medicare space, which was interesting. But anyway, I think my point kind of remains the same. I think that, wars throughout our history, we've had some good economic outcome from the output that we produce, helping other countries, reaping the benefits from the countries that we do help out too, and the countries that maybe we overtake at that point. But I think for this one, I'm just going to kind of reiterate what I've said all along, is that I wish there was a clear plan here, because I don't see a long-term benefit economically right now. I think we all kind of agreed that things in the short term are going to be rough, but maybe there's some hopium out there that in the long term things will open back up and we'll go back to the prices that we had a few months ago, and everything will be on its right way. But I'm not as hopeful about that, just because I don't think that when you're dealing with irrational actors like the Iranian government, that you can rely on them, even if you were to force them or push them back in some way and have their government be more pro-American. There are a lot of other people in the area that we still have to be aware of, and it's not going to be as simple as just opening up oil and trading routes again. So I think we're going to see more long-term effects than people think and people realize. And I think that if we do see oil in the short term go up to that $150 a barrel range, we're going to see a lot of negative impact from that here domestically and internationally. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I hope that the U.S. comes out of this unscathed and that we can clear our objectives and all ends well for us. But I'm skeptical of that, and that's why I remain on the negative side of this props.
You're muted.
I am muted. Hey, thank you so much. Approach you. Yeah, that's for the chat. Yeah, I got a few different strains here. Probably gives like to smoke a lot. By the way, Dan Patrick, we're coming for your ass. I'm done with your bullshit. You fucked up now, and now we're coming for you. All right, go ahead. Average debate enjoyer. Go ahead.
All right, so Non-Fod was right that it could have gone badly, but thankfully the minuscule chance of that happening didn't happen, and this was a one-sided slaughter where one side couldn't even shoot back at the constant bombardment that was just hitting them every single day. Thousands of military targets. This is the most destabilizing force in the world, and they were removed from the field. And this idea that it's somehow going to be worse because a few fucking radical groups with a handful of rockets spring up is just, to me, silly of an idea. We see the constant degradation of our enemies on the world stage over the last 80 years, and now they're the JV squad, to quote President Barack Hussein Obama. This This is a regime that seized the government in a bloody coup to impose a religious dictatorship on its people that it slaughters en masse if they disagree in the streets peacefully. And it's threatened to shut down the Strait of Hormuz dozens and dozens of times in the last 48 years, constantly destabilizing markets, bombing cities, kidnapping hundreds of people, going into other countries. They just tried to assassinate people in a church a week ago, a Hezbollah agent, a week ago in the United States. It just happened. They are the number one sponsor of world terrorism and the largest destabilizing force in the world. It's obvious. One of their first acts when they took power was to kidnap a bunch of U.S. citizens. Like, they are not a fan of us. They took power and they said, first thing we're going to do, fuck the great Satan, the United States. We're developing a nuke and ICBMs to shoot it at the United States. Like, they want to kill us. So the plan has been articulated by the administration. I heard a few times. Just because I don't know it means it doesn't exist. But the short-term markets will jump up for the next few months. But that's it. And it turns around. The daily Trump action that is going to ruin the world is all we're seeing here today. In a few months, everyone's going to forget about this because the markets are going to destabilize. Oil's going to come back down. Everything's going to return to normal. It's just the next thing we see on the rage cycle for today. And as soon as it can't hurt Trump politically anymore, just like Epstein was a nothing burger and everyone moved on, they're going to move on from this as well. So global hegemony and stability has brought us the safest world in human existence. And this is absolutely essential. If you're going to take these goods that you spent millions of dollars on in your hard work and put them on a fucking boat and send them across the world, you need to know that that money is going to come back to you. Consumer confidence in the global markets is an absolute must for us to maintain if we want to have trade. Taking out the number one destabilizing force and having a fucking 5-month, 3-month blip on the price of gas is absolutely worth it, hands down.
All right, thank you so much. All right, chat, this is going to bring us to the end of the Give Me a Break. Thank you all for coming. I am going to put the ending stream up, but we're not going to end the stream for about 10, 15 seconds here. And then we're going to switch over to the pause stream. Then we're going to move over to a different panel. We're going to have a whole outfit. It's going to be real wild, real spicy stuff. So I hope that y'all are prepared and you got your big boy pants on. All right, and I won't have to moderate, so I can actually give opinions this time. But yeah, thank you all for coming. Glad to give me a break going again. It was a nice little hiatus. Thanks for all coming back and being on here, guys. Y'all have a good rest of y'all's night.
Yeah. Jesus. What does this mean? I have questions for Mr. B. Why? Welcome back, everyone. I didn't get to welcome back. Lord. At least you understand how insurance and economy works compared to many people. Yeah. Kill me. At least I know how the trade works, how the balance of payments works, and it seemed like the Spin City dude understood that. People don't understand anything. You've been working out, bro? And no. But you know what? I appreciate you thought about that, Jessica Johnson. Look good. I appreciate it. Hell yeah. Okay. Spin doesn't understand most things, seemingly. I don't even get. He wouldn't even answer if it was like all else equal. Like, would you rather buy Chinese or American made good? It's like, well, I don't fucking know. That's a meaningless question unless you give me a little bit more specifics there. If I'm holding it all else equal, then I probably really just like would not care if anything. Like, personally, like, insofar, like, if the marginal benefit to China's is higher because they have lower income on average, like, maybe it's better to buy the Chinese good.
This is your friendly reminder.
Beaten tax syndrome, but victim best for you. Content no.
Candidate for governor of Florida also appears to have very little chance of winning. Traditional polls show Fishback trailing bigly, as Donald Trump would put it. At the time of recording, he has just a 10% chance on Polymarket.
I'm an agriculture analyst, so it's hard listening to the guy. They're talking about economy, especially the insurance, where he thinks we can just insure the ships and make money. Yeah, I don't get it. By the way, I was being gaslit. You can choose between different Medicaid plans, okay? Unless Google is lying to me that there are different Medicaid plans that exist. It's not like there's just one insurance plan called Medicaid, okay? It's like... Kill me.
Market, which
also, maybe under Obamacare. What the fuck do you mean, maybe under Obamacare? What? Insurance prices aren't going down anyway for many years. Well, the idea, I think, of it would be to essentially use the government to artificially push it down. Dude. Oh, it's shit. He was muted. Yeah, I think I muted him when I was on the panel, even though I don't know if they would have heard him. He just said he would get medical help, and that he can't answer specifics because his database is outdated. Dog, the ironic to think Obamacare and the ACA are different. Yeah, I don't understand. Apparently, we would need capital reserve for insurance, and that would be the tax money. Yeah, obviously, especially if you're under pricing risk relative to the market risk, then like you're going to have to pay out more than you take in, like almost certainly.
Which has a very accurate track record of recent election outcomes. His main opponent in the primary, Byron Donalds, has the full backing of President Trump and the full Republican machine, with record spending to match. But Fishback has stayed in the race.
We'd be working basically at a loss to try to underprice the market. Yeah, exactly.
Rage baiting, such as referring to his opponent as APAC Shakur, and by proposing some very radical policies. One of these policies is
rage baiting is when I am racist. Rage baiting is when I'm racist, and my group of teenage fans all love me.
a sin tax, which aims to raise millions of dollars straight from the pockets of OnlyFans models. Well, in a moment, I'll hear the case against the sin tax of the most successful OnlyFans creator in the world. But joining me first is James Fishback, Republican candidate for governor of Florida. Well, welcome, Mr. Fishback.
Piers, thanks for having me.
So, look, a lot of people think you've got no chance of winning. What's the point? What is the point of continuing?
Well, a lot of people said that Donald Trump had no chance of winning when he ran in a 19-way primary in 2015. What I'm telling you, Piers, is that I'm here to tell the truth. And when we were at the University of Florida 2 weeks ago and we had 500 people in the audience, black, white, rich, poor, Muslim, Christian, Jew, that's
all 15-year-olds who can't vote,
spoke to a real energy on the ground. And so I'm not going to put blind faith in polls that said that Hillary Clinton was the shoo-in and that Kamala Harris was the shoo-in. I'm going to
500. I mean, 500 is impressive for a governor candidate who is, you know, polling very low and has like 5% poly market odds or whatever the fuck it was. But it is like mostly just young men who probably, many of them probably won't even end up voting. And then even if they do, it's, I think, unlikely that it's going to win over enough older people to get them anywhere.
Speak truth out of an unapologetic love for a state that my family has called home for 4 generations now. The truth is that I love my state, but my state is hurting right now. Young couples can't afford to buy a home. People are being laid off, and billionaires.
James Fishback 2028. It's gonna happen apparently. That's the world that we're gonna live in. We're gonna have the JD Vance presidency with James Fishback as vice president.
Are firing them to bring in cheap foreign labor from South Asia.
True.
Essential services like healthcare are being denied to veterans all over this state, and so I am fighting.
True. Based on what? If you're a veteran, you get a fuck ton of health benefits. Arguably too many. What do you mean they're being denied? They get like 130% disability rating, and then they get like $2,000 fucking checks every month.
Essential services like healthcare are being denied to veterans all over the state. And so I am fighting for a state that every single Floridian can afford, and that's why I'm running for governor.
One of the big things you've been on recently, you've been on a very critical run against Israel, particularly for roping America into the war in Iran, as you see.
What's up, Springo? Blessed are we to be graced by Master Fondler himself, Drew. Welcome back.
To fight for themselves, although they are fighting, obviously, in Iran. It's interesting, because in November 2024, a few weeks after October the 7th, you said this.
So Trump moved an
oh shit, he prepared, he got the clip, he's got the, when he used to be pro-Israel.
embassy, got Muslim majority countries for the first time ever to recognize the rightful existence of the Jewish state of Israel, and that justifies the heinous attack we saw on October 7th. Iran was only exporting 150,000 barrels of oil a day under Trump. Now they're exporting 1.6 million. They're making hundreds of billions of dollars a year more. That emboldens them to give their proxies weapons, money, and the vigor to attack the Jewish state, and that is unacceptable in the international community.
So a lot of people look at that clip and the extended version and other comments you made at the time and thought, well, here's a really staunch supporter of Israel and the Israeli government and the relationship with America. And now you appear to have done a massive U-turn on this and become incredibly critical of them. A, do you accept that characterization? And if so, explain the change in mind.
Well, Piers, I'm glad you played that clip and gave the full context. I'm grateful for that. What I said in that clip, I stand by today, which is that Iran should never be funding the crazy terroristic proxies of Hezbollah or the Houthis. Or
Oh, I don't know. The Groper fans won't even like that one. Okay, they want them to. They want them to destroy Israel. They want them to keep existing.
Also been critical of the Israeli government. What I'm especially critical of is the fact that they now want.
I've also been critical of the Israeli government. Oh my God, bro. What do we like? We know what you're doing. We know what you're doing. We know what you're doing. You're just trying to appeal to the fucking corporates, dog. Like.
For the Pentagon to fight a war that Marco Rubio himself said we are fighting because Israel was the proximate catalyst for getting us in this war. So two things can be true at the same time, Piers. You understand the nuance. The first thing that's true is that no, Israel should not be attacked by Iran. And then number two is that the United States should not lose
Wow, they're not going to like that one.
speech rights or send billions of dollars of taxpayer money to the Israeli government every single year. And so I'm going to speak the truth in a way that I think people in my state appreciate.
So completely, there's a guy that doesn't need a bit on Julie. It is wild. It's funny that he backed out of the other debate they were supposed to have as well.
Do you believe that Israel has a right to exist?
I believe that countries don't have a right to exist, but I believe that people have a right to exist. And
No shot. He would have said that on a Jubilee episode, by the way. Just no shot, no chance.
Jewish Floridians, like Christian and Muslim Floridians, have a right to exist in my state, and I will defend that right. Piers, I condemn...
But not H-1B workers, okay? They have no... They got to get the fuck out. And all the foreign students.
Sorry, just to be clear, so you don't think Israel has a right to exist?
I don't think that communist China has a right to exist, but I think the Han Chinese as an ethnicity...
I'm not talking about China. I'm talking
right
specifically about Israel, which, as you know, the Israeli government is emphatic that it has this right to exist, and that right is threatened by its neighbours, many of whom want to cause it harm, through the terrorist proxies from Iran in particular. So the issue of whether...
I don't think that doesn't debate was ever real. I think it was a rug pull. Everything this guy does.
As you know, so just to be clear,
it's not real.
They have a right to
His investment gains weren't real, okay?
exist, Israel.
His lawsuits against the Federal Reserve, they're not real. They weren't serious.
Any country.
No,
has
I know
a
you
right
said
to
that. I'm not
exist.
talking about any country. I'm talking about specifically Israel.
Specifically Israel, and specifically and generally every country in the world does not have an inherent right to exist. Who has a right to exist?
He's trying to do, like... There's a way to make the framing work where I think you can do, like, a libertarian-esque, like, thing here where you say, like, oh, I don't believe, like, states have, like, rights to exist or whatever. I think individuals have rights, but, like, he can't really do that because of all the other, like, well, he can't do it for two reasons. One, he wants to make sure he doesn't lose his Groyper fan base, and then two, he has a bunch of, like, anti-individual right libertarian beliefs as well. Like, because like he believes states have some right to enforce their border, right? Like, oftentimes you hear from, like, Cato libertarian type people, like, you know, I don't believe the state I think individuals have rights to free movement. I don't think states have rights to, like, protect their border in some sense, right? It's an individual that has the right, and sometimes maybe that involves some border restrictions, but usually it's going to involve the free movement of people. But he believes no H-1B workers should be in Florida, foreign students should be kicked out, like...
people, and that includes Jewish Floridians who are struggling just as Christian Floridians are under the weight of a cost of living crisis, Piers, and I'm going to fight for them every single day as their next governor.
Okay, let's get to the syntax. You've proposed a 50% syntax on OnlyFans creators to discourage what you call immoral behavior. So just explain that.
Well, there was a time not too long ago in the United States of America where young girls aspired to be cooks and lawyers and reporters and doctors, and nowadays they are resigned to the fact that if they have an unexpected expense or they need to cover their rent or groceries, the quickest way for them to do that is being exploited by the OnlyFans platform.
True.
I respect them enough to think that they are capable of anything they put their minds to, and I never want a woman in my state to be exploited by the online sex slavery that is OnlyFans.
But I thought it was voluntary.
Online sex slavery.
There's nothing...
I think it's plausible that OnlyFans has, like, lowered the barrier to entry for porn or whatever, and therefore maybe has caused more women to do it. Like probably many people who wouldn't do traditional porn or whatever are willing to do OnlyFans. But I think part of that is because of the fact that, from my understanding, OnlyFans probably offers a lot of benefits to women that they wouldn't get in traditional porn industry, in a sense that it's probably safer, right? They're a contractor essentially. They're not, like, working for business where there obviously in the porn industry seems to be a lot of, like, sexual harassment, a lot of bad stuff going on there. So
nothing voluntary about a platform that exploits women and forces them to sell nude photos on the internet.
When you say
this is a classic case.
just to be
number one, by online sex slavery, I think he means digital pimps who have multiple girls. is that a problem in the fucking U.S.? That's like an Andrew Tate, a fucking Eastern European thing. Where does that happen in the U.S.? I just don't.
Just to be clear about what OnlyFans is, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding about OnlyFans is...
What does he mean by force system? He means, did you know most Americans can't afford a $400 emergency expense? So if they have, like, yeah.
voluntary, no one's forcing you to do it. People go on OnlyFans, create an account, and they charge money for whatever they want to put on their account. I'm not sure where the exploitation element, as you're articulating it, is.
Well, this is often the defense of sex trafficking, that a 15-year-old
sex
girl
trafficking
is
is illegal.
voluntarily
Hang on, sex trafficking is illegal.
And I believe that OnlyFans should be illegal as well.
Really? Why? What law are they breaking?
Incredible.
Well, I would change the law. I would change the law. That's how we do things. I mean, slavery wasn't illegal, and then we said this is a moral
But who's enslaving people on
change
OnlyFans?
the law.
I'm really curious. Maybe you've consumed a lot more OnlyFans content.
Well, the referral program in OF, basically digital pimping when you think about it. I'm not even familiar with whatever the referral program is.
I've never been on
trafficking and slavery
OnlyFans,
and everything else, but I'm not aware that that is what OnlyFans is. It has a lot of adult content, but legal adult content, which is monitored according to the law, and that people who have accounts there do so voluntarily. They open accounts and they charge money. We have somebody I'm going to bring in a moment, Sophie Rain.
Funds should be illegal.
$1 million from her account on OnlyFans. I don't think she's been enslaved or exploited. I think she's perfectly happy and enjoys what she does. I mean, I'll talk to her in a moment, but why do you feel she's a slave?
So I feel that this is a classic case of Stockholm Syndrome, where the individual, the victim, the enslaved person doesn't feel that they have real agency. This goes back to Sociology 101, peers, that someone is induced to believing they have choice, they have agency, when in fact they can't make a decision for themselves. I want young girls in my state to...
Bro, is he Demo rep? He's Republican, but he's like very populist Republican, obviously. Bro, okay, like I can get being worried about some of the exploitation shit and stuff, but we're calling the girl with 3 million fucking bucks and a large social media following, even outside of OnlyFans. She's a slave, bro. She's enslaved, and she just has Stockholm syndrome. Really? Yeah, Ben, a worker does point people to force to work. Like, I think the argument of exploitation could basically apply to everything. You'd have to argue it's not sufficient. You have to argue that not only is it exploitative, but there's something fundamentally different or like fundamentally corrupt about selling your body that doesn't apply to other jobs, which I think it's hard to do without like pretty like essentially religious backing. Otherwise, I just don't think you're going to be able to draw like a big distinction between OnlyFans and other jobs that are in some way degrading, but we don't take any moral issue with.
To aspire to be astronauts, doctors, nurses, small business owners. I believe a radical thing that women can do anything they put their minds to, peers, and I don't want them resigning.
So do you think, just to be clear, do you think modeling is modeling?
He's a groiper? No, I don't know if James Fishback actually has any personal beliefs at all. I don't think his personal beliefs are groiper, but I think he's essentially like audience captured. He knows who he can best appeal to. He knows who watches him and stuff. He hangs out with these fucking kids, right? Or hangs out. Well, actually, I was going to say hangs out with these kids is a weird way to put it, but considering that he fucking dated the 17-year-old from his debate organization, maybe hang out with them is not a weird way to put it. He hosts his events and sees who's watching him and stuff. So I'm not sure he personally is like that groiper, but he knows what he's doing.
Modeling
sure.
is immoral.
I think naked modeling, however you want to euphemize it, naked modeling is immoral.
I mean, Cindy Crawford was one of the greatest iconic supermodels of all time. She's done naked modeling. So is she a sinner? Is she immoral? Should she be paying 50% back of her income?
Well, in that particular act of modeling, yes, and modeling nude, but you and I both know that Cindy Crawford was not known for her nude modeling. She was predominantly known for modeling for runway shows.
So should we
in Washington,
retrospectively
Paris,
go back to every supermodel who's ever posed nude and get 50% back of their income from those pictures?
As much as I'd love to do that, that's not legally possible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to raise an OnlyFans
Why do you have a problem
syntax.
with women's naked bodies, James?
By the way, peers, you keep talking about women. There's thousands of men on OnlyFans, and this is going to apply just as equally to them. And so you're the one select.
Okay. Sure. But I think we all know predominantly the people who are doing OnlyFans are women, and especially the people who are like doing it because it's I was gonna say especially probably the people who are doing it because it's like a fucking they're pushing to doing it or whatever because of emergency expenses or whatever, are a woman. But like maybe proportionally that's not the case. It's just harder for men to make OnlyFans for men to make money on OnlyFans. So I would kind of expect men to turn to other places before OnlyFans, right? So
selectively outraged about women.
That's a very good point. It's a very good
if you're
point.
a man or a woman producing or consuming this content, and by the way, Piers, what you haven't brought up is that as governor, I would also levy a consumption tax. I'm not going to.
Oh, there we go.
In this equation as well. If you're a young man and you're watching pornography, put down the phone.
I can see a probably stronger argument for that, but I don't know why it would only be OnlyFans. It would probably just be a sin tax across all pornography. but I just don't know how bad the effects are.
Pray and find a real God-fearing woman. Society is not going to be dictated by men and women commodifying and using one another in these ephemeral social...
And I don't know why there's always going to be fucking free porn out there, right? So if anything, I would kind of expect... I would expect the consumption of OnlyFans porn to be less harmful than regular porn on its own, just because I think typically regular... I don't use OnlyFans, so I don't know. But typically, my impression of a lot of OnlyFans stuff is that it's relatively chill, normal stuff, and a lot of it is just like not even hardcore stuff. It's just like lewd or nude photos of women. Whereas compared to like regular porn sites, you can go down some pretty wacky rabbit holes in those things, right? But at the same time, I think OnlyFans also has like the relationship aspect of it. Like you're paying partially for like a personal relationship with them, and I think that might have some negative outcomes as well. So I don't know necessarily which one would be worse, actually. Don't you need a credit card to use OnlyFans? I believe so.
Social relationships. No, it's not transactional sex. It is a romantic experience that is reserved for a man and a woman in the sanctity of marriage.
Okay, well, why don't we just bring in Sophie Rain? Just hang on there, Jason, because it'd be quite interesting to have you guys talk to each other. So, Sophie, welcome to Uncensored.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You have 4.5 million, well, there are 4.5 million OnlyFans creators. You are, I think, the highest earner. It's claimed that you've made $43 million. You've got
Holy shit, what?
8.5 million Instagram followers, 14 million on TikTok. So you're a massive social media phenomenon. For those who are not familiar with your work, how would you describe it?
Well, I post on many platforms. I post content on Instagram. I post content on...
OnlyFans is a millionaire.
I post content on OnlyFans. And honestly, I do a little bit of everything. I do little dancing TikTok videos. I'll post Instagram photos. And then obviously my OnlyFans content.
And would you describe it as pornographic, or what would you describe it as?
I mean, I wouldn't describe it
Thanks,
as pornographic,
Piers.
but it's definitely adult content for sure.
So what do you feel about James Fishback and his
Hold on.
50% as a sin tax for being a sinner?
I just gotta do a quick investigation. Gonna do it on a second monitor.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, it's ridiculous. It's very ridiculous. Florida already has no income state tax. It doesn't exist. So it seems very selective, and it seems like it's a punishment.
Well, it's called syntax for a reason.
Are you there, James? Yeah, you are. I mean, Sophie says that, that she feels like this is a punishment. Why are you punishing her?
Well, hey, Sophie, good to meet you. It's not a punishment at all. What it is a deterrent. I think Sophie recognizes that our state was better off when young women aspired to be teachers, small business owners, doctors, and lawyers, as opposed to creating adult...
Like, this is basically like... This is relatively tame stuff as far as adult content goes. From what I'm seeing. It is definitely... I don't know. A lot of this stuff is definitely pornographic. Well, like, it's not... I don't think any of this is even hardcore. From what I've seen.
Adult content. I can respect Sophie Rain as an individual and still respectfully call out that I don't want thousands of young women who are...
Not pornographic, but adult, so she does gore. I think it's fair to call it pornographic. Probably what she meant is that it's not like... at least I didn't see from the limited shit I could find any like hardcore stuff in it or anything. It's not like traditional regular stuff. Most of it is just like fucking haha, actually no. it's just like fucking striptease stuff and stuff along those lines.
Women who are in high school today to feel like the only way they can make a living when they graduate is selling adult content, video, photos of themselves on the internet. So Sophie, look, with all due respect, I know you're from Florida. I'm from Florida. We both love our state. I want what's best for you, and I want what's best for every single woman in our state, and that's not to be objectified and exploited by the OnlyFans owners.
Did not see any.
I feel like as adults, we are all able to legally make our own decisions. And I think that we should also educate a lot more on all of these opportunities that you're speaking of, because I just don't think that we should be singling out any individual for what they choose to do.
James?
Well, I want to single out drug dealers, Sophie. I want to single out people who are committing crimes in our society. And so as governor, my responsibility is very simple. I want to make sure that there is a path. I'm not going to be one of those Republicans who's going to attack women.
And it seems to me that your initial assertions before we spoke to Sophie, that she was, that people like her on OnlyFans are enslaved, they're being exploited. And then you do an analogy just now to drugs and whatever, which are illegal, obviously. Nothing she's doing is illegal. It seems to be entirely of her own free will. She's very happy doing it. She's very popular doing it. Under the First Amendment...
Well, have you asked her that, Piers? Have you asked her if she's happy?
Under the First Amendment of the US Constitution, what business is it of yours to stick your oar in and want 50% of her cash?
No, Piers, did you ask her if she was happy? Because she posted a video 2 weeks ago on International Women's Day where she was interviewing her former self, who looked to be disappointed, who aspired to be, quite literally in Sophie Rain's own words, an astronaut. Sophie, you are smart. I know you. I know your family. You are capable of anything.
What the fuck?
And so when you're doing this little cute Spider-Man dance online and you're creating this adult content, know that that person that you used to be still wants something more out of you. And I, as the governor of the state, want every single woman in Florida to achieve their maximum potential.
Sophie?
First of all, what do you say she made? Fucking 40 million bucks. Okay, I don't think there's much more maximum potential besides that. What was this International Women's Day video? Do I have to go to Sophie Rain's OnlyFans? Oh, don't worry. The first thing I see on Instagram is someone's ads anyway. So, you know. How do you spell her name? No, it's just Rain, like regular Rain. I don't see it. What's her fucking, what's her Instagram? Or TikTok? Wish I could make 3 mil at selling pics in my a-hole. Yeah, I know. I'm not seeing any. When was International Women's Day? That was only like 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? I'm just seeing a bunch of her in jeans and leggings and tight shirts dancing. I see the Spider-Man dance. Okay, it's not worth it. I don't care.
I mean, I think just realistically speaking, I'm very happy with where I am, and I promise I would have never got to where I am without the platform. Like, I built businesses outside of this. I am constantly, chasing new dreams and everything. Like, I'm very happy with where I am.
Yeah, Sophie, you come from a devout Christian family, I understand. You grew up, by your own admission, pretty poor. The family didn't have much money, relied on food stamps as a child. You were working as a waitress. You then went on OnlyFans. You said you got fired from your restaurant job when your boss discovered the account and so on. And now, obviously, you've become incredibly successful and rich doing this. What do your family make of your transition into this world?
They're actually very supportive of me. Definitely at first, they didn't really understand it, and they were cautious of it. But I sat them down, and I talked to them.
Oh, she's a chaste virgin, apparently? No shot.
Everything, I'm being safe. I'm
Based?
everything legal. Like, I'm good, and they're very supportive of
And
where I am.
are you genuinely happy?
I am. I would have never. I own my own house. Who at 21 can say that? Like, this has gave me so much autonomy.
Well, that's why we need to get the foreigners and the billionaires out of Florida so everyone can afford to own their own house. Give it to me. Say it.
For the platform, because I wouldn't have been here, especially in today's economy.
Right, I mean, James Fishback, I'm thinking like of, say, the Kardashians, people like that, right? They're always stripping off, and they're making millions, billions, actually, as a family, from their bodies predominantly. They don't have any other discernible real talent. It's just stripping off and being, in the media, and it's been very successful. Does your syntax apply to them?
The syntax applies to adult content on the internet, whether it's OnlyFans or any other platform. Peers, let me just ask Sophie a question. Sophie, if the number of women doing OnlyFans tripled in Florida tomorrow, would that be a good or a bad thing?
I think honestly,
Probably depends on what is driving that change.
would be a great thing. A lot of women are trying to find different ways to make more income in a heavily damaged economy.
Like, I could imagine cases where it'd be net good. Like, if she's describing like if there was a recession and for some reason the OnlyFans business was still popping off or whatever, that it could still be net good. Would Titanic be considered for a syntax?
There should be those opportunities.
That's true. We need to. He said on the internet, I guess, but we need to get rid of the movie, any topless scenes in movies. Okay, we need to.
Out there for these women to make an income.
Do you hear,
Sophie, Sophie and I both agree. We both agree that the economy is badly damaged. I proudly voted for President Trump, Pierce, in 2024, and I have to tell you that I am not proud of the work that he has done. We are not living in a golden age whatsoever. People in my state are struggling under the weight of this affordability crisis, and Sophie Rain and I see eye to eye that this economy is hurting a lot of people. I think that
even that, maybe I'm reading too much into that, but like we are not in a golden age. That is like something that Groypers very much say. Like, that is what Nick Fuentes says. You can find Nick Fuentes has like multiple tweets about that. But maybe that's more common than just among the Groyper type people, but I see that most commonly from Nick Fuentes and Groypers.
We disagree is that the economy hurts people, and Sophie Rain wants to say, let's get them to join OnlyFans, and what I say is, let's get new job training, especially for women. Let's create new pathways, new opportunities at our public universities, career technical school. Let's create a statewide internship program for anyone under the age of 25 to get a great paying job that will teach them new skills in the 21st century. So Sophie, you and I see eye to eye, where we, I think, disagree is the solution. When you say that tripling...
I don't really think these things are... mutually exclusive. I think if you believe that all these programs or whatever are going to reduce the amount of girls on OnlyFans, then just like do them and you'll reduce the amount of girls on OnlyFans, even if it doesn't get as low as the 50% fucking tax or whatever. Like,
the number of OnlyFans creators is a good thing. That speaks to the damage of the economy. What I want to do is create a real economy that allows people like those women to do something.
Or you're missing,
dignified,
maybe you're
allow them-
missing. Yeah, James, you keep talking for Sophie, I've noticed. Right? I think you should let her speak for herself, not least because she's worth $43 million. But the point I would make is, what about the argument that women are empowered to make their own decisions about their own bodies, their own choices, their own careers?
So let me ask you a question, Piers. If a woman is empowered to make their own decision about their own body, and a woman struggles,
Can they do heroin?
encourage that woman to sell one of her kidneys to pay the rent and say it was her own decision? No,
She's not selling her
help
kidney.
women.
First of all, that's way better than OnlyFans. Are you fucking kidding me? Absolutely. Yes. Like, they're literally saving a life, in some cases multiple lives, because of kidney chains in that example. Absolutely we should. And OnlyFans, they're just giving men the ability to goon, which clearly its own benefit, but probably not as consequential. Regardless. There was something else I was going to say, but I forgot because
So that's fine. So let me ask you a question, Piers. If a woman is empowered to make their own decision about their own body, and a woman struggles to pay the rent, do we then encourage that woman to sell one of her kidneys to pay the rent and say it was her own decision? No,
She's not selling her
help
kidney.
women.
She's not selling
no,
her kidney.
hold on. But where do you draw the line?
Pierce isn't doing a good job at it. Oh, wait.
She is imperiling her future as a mom, as a worker. You just heard Sophie say
How is she
was
imperiling her
fired.
future?
Arguably, donating a kidney probably imperils your future less than OnlyFans does. Like, it's very rare that people with one kidney can live like perfectly normal lives. My understanding is that they do typically live perfectly normal lives. It's pretty rare that you have any complications from it. And then to the extent that you do, like, I know, if you donate your kidney like altruistically, there's like some organization, I forget what it's called, but they offer essentially some type of like kidney insurance. Like, if you donate your kidney and then end up needing a kidney later in life or whatever, you're kind of prioritized for other people's like altruistic kidney donations. So yeah.
As a mother, I don't get that. How does she imperil her future as a mother?
Well, let me tell you how. You just heard Sophie tell you that she was fired from her job when her boss found out her OnlyFans.
Yeah.
She was fired from her job.
Yeah.
And now, with all due respect to Sophie, what are you going to tell your daughter in 10 or 15 years when all of these images are all over the internet and your daughter is being bullied in middle school and was told that you guys were Christians? With all due respect, what do you say then? It creates a real weight, a real tension between a mom and her children, and of course, a worker and her employer. I don't want to encourage women to go on OnlyFans and then get...
I think that like is a cost, and like maybe there's an epic freeze phase, or like maybe somewhat of an externality from that, but like I'm just not sure like it's necessarily irrational for her to prioritize $43 million over having a deal for kicking and bullying middle school. Like maybe that's like I just don't think that's like that irrational of a decision. Like, I think people make similar types of trade-offs a lot of times, not to the same kind of extreme, but
fired from the job and then have a real fight at home about what mommy did on the internet last week.
Okay, Sophie?
I mean, I'm only 21. I haven't even thought about having kids yet. But also, I think that the main discussion here is sin tax. And like in the state of Florida, there's already no income tax. So, and that's also one of the main identities of Florida, is that it is a no income state tax. And I think the main issue here is you're attacking women already on the site making money.
I'm
and there's multiple. Exactly. There's multiple people on the site, and not everyone does adult content. OnlyFans is a massive platform, and you can do anything on there. Not everything is adult content based.
Well, I think to be fair to you,
I don't use OnlyFans. But I do know that when they were planning on banning adult content, they had to walk that back.
To be fair to him, Sophie, he's not saying that everyone on OnlyFans should get the sin tax. He's just saying the people that he considers to be sinful should get a tax, and you're one of them. He thinks you're a sinner. What do you say to that?
Well, sin tax is, he's proposing that is going to attack everyone on the OnlyFans site. So does that include all of, the cooks on there that are just selling their recipes?
No, it doesn't, Sophie. No, it doesn't.
So how do you single out?
What if I cook while I'm topless?
How do you work out who's a sinner and who's not, James? Are you going to be launching a sin purge? How are you going to do this?
What if I what about cake sitting? That's basically cooking. They started out as a DJ fan club thing, lol. I didn't know that.
In charge of it, Piers. And so
I have
the way
a
you do
very
it
broad
is...
mind, James. I think if people are obeying the law, they can do what they like with their own lives. What's it got to do with you?
You know what? So what do you say then? Because prior to slavery being illegal, they were obeying their law. They owned 100 black people. Does that make it okay? Of course not. Let me get to the very specific point that I think.
Why do
Sophie
you think
made in
she's a
good
slave?
faith.
You have of all the arguments you've used.
That's called an analogy.
Some of the points you've made.
I was gonna say he is misunderstanding Fishback's argument there.
But this idea that somehow Sophie is some sort of slave, I'm just not buying that.
Look, Sophie may not be a slave. She hasn't made $43 million. Don't lowball her. She's made over $100 million. When I talk to young...
What the hell? Sophie Ray, net worth. Gross earnings surpassing 100 million. And I think that's only from OnlyFans, which there's no way she gets nearly as much money from TikTok or Instagram or anything, but I would guess that she gets some.
Is that right, Sophie?
That is correct, yes.
You made over $100 million.
In a span of
Sophie,
2 years, yes.
So she could probably, yeah, 100 million, goddamn. If she streamed on like Twitch and stuff, she could probably get a decent amount of money from doing that. Not nearly as much as OnlyFans, but like, you know.
If you want to be my running mate and be the lieutenant governor of Florida, it'll cost you $10 million. You'd be happy to do it. I'd be honored to have you.
2 years? Apparently the gooners are out there, man.
No, I don't think so.
Out of interest, Sophie, I have to say, I mean this with no disrespect, but I'm not aware, I've viewed your work. What is it that makes you so popular?
I think that I'm just very transparent with my audience. I'm never over here encouraging people to try and join the site. I'm very clear on the pros and cons of it also, but I'm just very transparent.
So then hold on, what are the cons? Then what are the cons? What is a con? Let's be transparent. What is a con of joining?
I mean, exactly like you said, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that OnlyFans is a great site. Some of the points you are making are correct, like, you know, it's damaging to the future. And I want people to understand and educate themselves, but women still should be able to make that decision for themselves at the end of the day. They shouldn't have to worry about
I'm raising a tax to disincentivize.
He literally said he wanted to ban it, though.
And deter it. I'm not banning.
The whole reason that you're doing it is because you think it's bad. You think it's something that women ought not decide for themselves, right? Like that's still your argument.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That is what he's doing. Sophie, if you had a daughter, would you want her to do what you're doing?
I mean, I would let her decide. It's up to her decision.
But do you think as a mother you would want that?
I think I would be supportive of it no matter what. Yes.
Sophie, would you be supportive of your son selling crack cocaine?
No, that is illegal.
Right. So why? What is this difference between legal and illegal? Why can't we just say it's moral or immoral?
Because one's legal.
Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? A lot of people have different
opinions. In Afghanistan, you can marry an 8-year-old. It is quite literally legal in Afghanistan to marry an 8-year-old. And so does that make sense, Sophie?
Obviously, Fishback is right that like you should legality is not morality, okay? But like it is, I think it is broadly important to kind of Scott Alexander uses he used the term like bright line violations or whatever. Like, you know, the reason you punish a shoplifter is not just because the shoplifter the shoplifter probably does some very marginal amount of harm in the grand scheme of things, right? But the reason we punish shoplifters relatively hard, at least prior to the wokeism or whatever, is because they've kind of violated like a bright norm that society has, a bright line that we've made that like this is just something that's like not acceptable, you can't do it or whatever. So even if like the individual person is like doing a relatively low amount of harm, there's probably just norms and stuff you want to create or whatever. And I think obviously dealing crack is a lot more harmful than shoplifting, but it's still important to kind of punish the bright line violations and maybe not care as much about the sort of things that we might consider to be immoral or whatever, but aren't the same type of bright line violation like maybe OnlyFans is. A report by the Financial Times in January 2026 found that OnlyFans models and other social media influencers made up more than half of the O1 visa applications. Basic credit immigration attorneys. Dude, you know, I don't know if this is still true. I believe it probably is, but like for a while at least, OnlyFans had the highest like earnings to employee ratio of any company. Because they don't have that many employees and they make a lot of money.
We don't live in Afghanistan.
Right. What are you talking about?
It's an analogy. It's an analogy.
It's a ridiculous analogy. You're choosing a country with totally different laws. In the United States of America,
prior to slavery being
obeys the same laws that you do, James.
Like I don't know if this is a great source or anything, but it's incredible.
Prior to slavery being illegal, would you have opposed slavery because it was legal? It was legal, Piers. It's okay if it's legal, right?
Sophie?
Oh, you're asking me? I mean, I didn't live back then. I'm just here to talk about what we are here to talk about.
Of course you didn't live back then, Sophie. Of course you didn't. This is my issue. I'm here to have a good faith conversation with a former Florida resident. A current Florida resident. And my point to Sophie is this: is if you want to keep doing this, then we're going to take 50% of what you earn and we're going to use it to raise public school teacher pay. Our public school teachers are not getting paid enough. We're going to use this as a resource to fund.
Oh, what's up, Momentum?
The empowerment of young women who have signed up to do something dignified, with all due respect, unlike you, and be a public school teacher, educating, inspiring, and motivating.
You know what, James? You know what? Here's what I would say. I've got to end this debate. Here's what I would say. I've listened to both of you, and you both made good points. But honestly, that last statement you made was so pompous and patronising. Honestly, who are you to be the great moral arbiter of what young women do with themselves legally in the United States? Who are you to say if you become...
Man, if only you like actually pushed him on that and didn't just keep going back to the like legality of it.
It's like half her money.
And like not like thought terminating cliches or whatever, but like yeah, a lot of it did just sound like Piers Morgan spamming voice lines, to be honest. But
state where they don't have even state income tax. It's like there's a real arrogance to this, that you've decided you are the moral arbiter of every Floridian, and it may be why you're trailing.
yeah, it doesn't make. I mean, he said he wants to ban it. Now maybe he thinks he only has the political capital to do a 50% tax for some reason, but
So badly in the polls, and Sophie,
it is kind of weird.
Don't worry about it because he's not going to win. So you're not going to end up giving Mr. Fishback any money for his plans. Much as it would be great to put more money into teachers in public schools, of course it would be, but it won't be coming from you, Sophie Rain, because he ain't going to win.
Well, if I'm not going to win, Sophie Rain can put a $5 million bet on Polymarket tonight that I'm not going to win. She'll make a lot of money. What I will tell you, Piers, is the same.
You won't actually make that much money because it's like it's already only at like 3%. So if you put, what is it, 8%? If you put let's just do 5,000, you'd make $247. $11,000. Oh wait, hold on. It's the 5,000. This is only the winnings.
Same
Sophie doesn't need the money, but I might do that so that I can become
you might,
wealthy.
Piers, but the same arrogance that said that Donald Trump could never win, that Zohran Mamdani could never win.
You could make probably an equivalent amount of money in it's not anything that's going to offer you that high of a return in the same short time span, I don't think, but
why don't you come to Florida?
8% is crazy. It is higher than I would like it to be.
Come to one of our rallies where we're drawing crowds larger than anyone else in this race.
Let me tell you, I was the lone voice in the UK who confidently predicted Donald Trump would win in 2016. And you know why I knew he'd win? Because I'd been down interviewing serial killers in Florida, and I could feel the Trump train surging and the Hillary train hitting the buffers. So my political instincts are very good, and I'm afraid the way the polls look at the moment, James Fishback, to quote my favourite phrase, you have two hopes, no hope and Bob hope. But
your quick thoughts on Graham Plattner? I honestly don't. I don't have a ton of thoughts. He's the dude with the fucking Nazi tattoo, right? I just don't like I don't like the populist messaging from people generally most of the time. I don't like. I think that whole Nazi tattoo saga thing was kind of odd, obviously. I think it seems like he kind of lied about it, right? I think he said that it's weird he didn't cover it up sooner also as well. I don't know. I just want DBCFT plus LVT plus plus NGDP targeting, but we're never going to get it. It's not going to happen.
Miracles can happen in politics, and I wish you all the best. Sophie Rain, thank you very much.
You actually care about that? In what sense? It's not. I don't think that's sufficient to vote one way or the other, but I think that does reflect poorly on his character.
For joining me. I wish you continued success. I think women should better do what they want for themselves.
Thank you for having me.
The lies are what turned me off, yeah.
So should you,
we're going to change the law, and we are going to change the law, Piers.
Well, we'll see about that. If you win, you can try.
If I win, Sophie Rain's going to owe me $50 million. I'm going to raise teacher pay all over the state. That's what we're going to do, and we're going to proudly do it because
I thought you said you weren't going to do it retroactively. What are we? Okay. Oh, apparently they keep talking.
I think I would want my daughter, for example, to be doing
but
what
that's fine,
Sophie's
Piers.
doing.
So then why can't you just say that without disparaging our supporters?
Yeah,
why can't you just say that without disparaging our supporters?
You don't have any supporters.
I don't. Well, who are the last week, the largest political event in a decade since Hillary Clinton ran for president. Piers, you're 3,000 miles away disparaging our supporters, hardworking people.
I have a home in the United States. I'm there all the time. I've worked and lived there for 20 years, so don't be patronising to me too. You've already been patronising enough to Sophie. Why don't we say this? I'll bet you $10,000 for a charity of your choice. You do not win. Do you accept the bet?
Well, I want to know what the odds are because Polymarket wants to
just
give
me and you.
10-1.
Mano to mano.
At what odds? And I get 10,000, you get 10,000. That's a 50-50
man
bet,
against Mr. Perfect. Let's have a little 10 grand bet to charity on camera.
Sure.
On camera.
Sure.
I say you're going to lose. If you are this confident you're going to win, take.
Good job today. Thanks, Gibbs.
Bet.
I'll take the bet if you give me $1,000. That's the 10-1 on Polymarket right now. If I win, you give me $100.
I hope we got some clips out of that. Maybe.
I'll give you odds. If you're not confident.
I at least got one screenshot of me holding the balance payments book up. Okay, that'll be a good Twitter post later.
I understand it.
The odds are on Polymarket.
So you accept
right
the Polymarket
is
right, you're going to get shellacked. You accept it.
Piers, I look forward to everyone, including Sophie, voting on election day, August 8th.
I should start making more reels and stuff. I don't do it enough.
One last chance. If you genuinely think you're going to win $10,000 to charity of both our choices, the winner chooses which charity. Do you accept my bet? I say you're going to lose. You say you're going to win.
Limits on what charity, Piers, because I don't want you giving money to abortion clinics, Piers, or to Mr. Suds daycare.
Heroes Fund.
Whoa! What you won't give the agency to donate to which charity he wants? What the hell?
want the
good enough for
money
you?
to be specifically given to a pro-life charity.
It would go to, you can give it to any charity you want. I'll give mine when I win to the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Fund, which is the charity I supported when I won Celebrity Apprentice in America. So just to be clear, are you accepting my bet?
I think it's a fair bet, Pierce.
Great. 10 grand to charity. When you lose, I'll come and get you back on the show, and we'll have you donating that to my charity. That'd be great.
Bro is not paying out that money.
Thanks, Pierce.
The term viral.
Okay. Do I care about these people at all? I recognize this dude. What's his name? Isn't it fucking Brian Shapiro or something? Josh Shapiro. Okay.
People about immigration in the United States, but it's called Priya Patel, and therefore presumably has
Brian?
a heritage which might
Brian Shapiro. God, it is Brian Shapiro. I'm not making it up.
conflict with the statement. But what's your view of this?
Well, first of all, Pierce, good to be back with you. Good to see you. Yeah, you're right. This video certainly went viral. My issue is look at all the white nationalists that were commenting.
I mean, it's kind of got TDS, to be honest. I think I've really only seen him talk to Destiny, and he does just seem like a I don't know if TDS is the right word, but he makes the 10-minute video or hour-long conversation content that's just kind of very surface level, shitting on some whatever's in the news cycle that Trump did today. It's this little. I understand what you mean. I don't know.
Social media pages. That's what's concerning to me. The hatred and the white nationalists that are commenting that would be issue number one. Issue number two for me. Listen, I have no problem with people coming to this country, learning the language, and taking some classes and learning the history of America and culture. I have no problem with that at all. But what I want in this country, and I think what most people want in this country, is diversity as well. Now, we can go back to her family. I don't know a lot about her family, but in my opinion, a lot of her views...
He doesn't have any actual underlying reasoning skills. It's 20-second anti-Trump zingers, yeah.
...he talks about would lead to her never being born in this country to begin with. And
From the TDS old guy clip? What is it?
where she's getting some of the pushback. Listen, I don't support any racism. I don't support some of the hateful comments that she's received. But like I said, there's a lot of comments on her social media and a lot of white nationalists. That's very concerning to me, Pierce, and I have a serious problem with that. And that's not culture of America. And that's where my issue lies here.
Okay. Well, Priya Patel, you're the woman of the moment this week. This has gone massively viral. First of all, are you surprised by how much pickup this has had, this clip?
What clip are I talking about? I didn't even...
So, well, the problem with the debate during the spirit is you never know.
Reminder that
Influencer whose video on immigration has been viewed 30 million times this week so far.
this is your friendly reminder that immigration without assimilation is invasion. Got it?
Okay, cool. Interesting.
That hit on a very similar point prior to this. It didn't go nearly as viral, so of course that is shocking. But yes, I understand that it is a very provocative statement coming from somebody named Priya Patel. However, of course, these people have no idea about my family history and my background.
Right, which is perfectly fair enough. So let's just clear that up, because I think that's obviously key to the whole debate, because you were born in the United States, is that right?
Yes.
Right, but where were your parents from? Are they from the United States or somewhere else?
My mother's from the United States. My father immigrated here as a...
I don't see the James Carville TDS video. I might have, but I don't recognize it based on that description.
You're right. I got Trump derangement syndrome. I hate the motherfucker. And you know what? I don't want to get rid of it. I don't want to get better. I want to get worse. I want to hate him more. I pray to God in heaven, God reign the righteous reign of Trump derangement syndrome.
I've not seen this, but this is something.
For me, pray for me, Lord. I'm your vessel on this earth. Pray for the people that listen to this. We want more. We want to hate the son of a bitch so much that we can't see straight. And oh my God, James, you can't give him credit for getting rid of the penny? Let me tell it to you straight. Oh, you go fucking faint. It's like saying Mussolini made the trains run on time. So I'm supposed to be here. This guy's been convicted of 30.
Kind of goated, actually.
Is it by anybody's estimation? Is compliant to Putin and dictators? He's invading people with an authorization. He's got the most incompetent fucking buffoons. So I'm supposed to give him credit for firing Kristi Noem when he actually hired Kristi Noem. Oh, and he hired Pam Bondi. Oh,
I'm shaving. Getting ready. Oh, I didn't mean to click next video. I thought that would get out of full screen. Okay, whatever. It was funny, but...
as a young boy and from England, actually, not from India.
Okay.
I mean, feels so sad for the old libs that are likely to die under the dark feet of America. Oh, damn. Okay, had to ruin the fun, Dylan. Jesus. This guy. involuntary commitment for this guy for sure.
So he's English. He's English, your father? Or?
I mean, I'm sure either way he'll be somewhere soon. You know, it'll be a retirement home or.
He was born in Uganda, immigrated to England when he was about 3 years old after the dictator Idi Amin chased out all of the Indians out of Uganda and waited their turn to be able to come to the United States and did so when he was in his teenage years.
So you say all the Indians. So is your father part?
Okay, do I care? Am I going to talk anything substantive here? Do I give a fuck?
There are all sorts of different cultures, people with different backgrounds that live in the United States of America. That's the way it should be. The idea that people should be forced after they come to this country to do exactly what American U.S. citizens tell them to do is absolutely absurd and ridiculous. In this country, we have freedoms. And when you become a naturalized citizen, and if you come into this country the right way, you should be allowed to do whatever you want as far as your culture is concerned, your religion is concerned. And for somebody to say, you must do this or you must do that, that's against everything the United States of America stands for. And I wish she would at least admit that in this debate.
Okay, well, do you admit that, Bria?
No, I don't admit that. You know, we have cultures and norms that we have a duty to uphold as a society, and I think that you know, should be enforced to some degree. And whether it's on a societal or a governmental level, I guess that's up for us to eventually decide, but it has to be implemented some way or another.
Well, everybody has to abide by the same... Look, to be clear, everyone has to abide by the laws of the country that they're living in, right? So that's just a given in somewhere like the United States or UK. So we can all agree that because that's obviously a fact. But when it comes to cultural differences, in a country of 340 million people, there are obviously myriad. What should these people all be doing in a uniform way?
Well, I would disagree with the statement, Pierce, that America was built on the fact that people came from all over the world. No, it was a very, very select few group of people that came here to the United States and built it. Of course, since then, we've welcomed.
Over what time period? It wasn't that select prior to like 1880 when we did the alien or not the Chinese Exclusion Act, and then you know even that only excluded Chinese people, and I think other Asian people were excluded as well. I could be wrong in that, but you know up until like the progressive era in the 1920s. We still allowed, you know, a fuck ton of European immigrants in, and there obviously are different one or two countries in Europe, but regardless,
a good chunk of the entire world to come to our country, which I would argue
a good chunk of the entire world.
Yes. You said that it was built on the idea that people were coming from all over the world.
Well, the whole premise of the United States of America is that people have come from everywhere, right? That's been the glorious selling point of the United States. Is it's open.
Did Zihanania admit the Iran war is looking to be a blunder? They didn't.
All you got to come in legally, and that's been a contentious issue. But once you get there, I'm not sure. As Brian says, why should you feel compelled to abide by a specific culture? I mean, what is the specific American culture, for example? How would you articulate it?
Why exactly? If you didn't want to assimilate to American culture, live as an American, why exactly would you leave the country that you came from to begin with if you're only going to bring your culture's customs and...
Probably because it offers you a lot better economic opportunity?
Norms and implement them
maybe
here
the same
and
reason your
completely
father
disregard
left
that of the
Uganda.
American people.
You know, maybe the same reason your father...
Like, I think when people refer to immigration, like being, you know, part of America's culture or part of America's story or whatever, like part of what they're referring to there is the idea that anyone can come here and make it, right? Like, that's the idea, is that you come here and make your life and the lives of your children better.
War-torn Uganda.
Do you not understand that?
Sure, but
understand that there are people that are seeking asylum that want a better life for themselves and their families that are afraid that they could even lose their lives?
Oh, that as well. Not just economic opportunity, but you could just be a fucking refugee.
Do you understand how many people are seeking asylum and are in fear of their life? For you to make the statement
that is a very small percentage of people coming to the United States. Very, very small percentage. And the large majority of people committing
technically, asylum is not a small percentage, but I agree that probably many of them do not meet the standards that we should have for asylum.
I'm just saying
the large majority of people claiming asylum are actually economic migrants. They're not from war-torn countries or suffering under political persecution.
One of the other comments, Priya, you said, which did...
I mean, she understands economic migrants. Doesn't that kind of imply there are other reasons to come here other than just like wanting to integrate into our culture?
Get a lot of attention. You said not all...
To be able to destroy good conscience, to be able to be able to behave badly and call your bad behavior in righteous indignation. This is the most delicious and moral treats. Okay, good to know.
Equal, and we shouldn't be importing the third world. So, what did you mean by the third world?
I mean, I think that's pretty evident. There are a large majority of countries that are still considered third world. They are not.
Well,
they're not privy to any of the.
Which ones would you say are third world?
I mean, you could take into account a lot of countries in Africa, in the Middle East, in Asia.
Well, give me
there
some
are
names of
plenty
countries.
to come from this list.
Give me some names.
You could probably take in Uganda. For example, would actually probably
so Uganda's
be considered
a third world
country
for you.
I think it's. Maybe I'm mistaken. But basically everyone considers Uganda a third world country. I think the relevant point is just that like the evidence of this being like a big concern is just like not that great. And there are plausibly other benefits that could outweigh any of the type of decline in societal trust or decline in certain cultural things that we care about. That the economic benefits could like easily outweigh that. Like I think this blog post about Garrett Jones, some of his work about this stuff, the culture transplant, right? Focus on 1,000 estimates from 83 studies that regress some measure of economic growth on some measure of social capital, i.e. trust, civic participation, stuff like that. After correcting for publication bias, the mean estimate is almost zero and is statistically insignificant. The author's preferred estimate is, as they describe it, negligibly small. These people focus on more than 1,500 estimates from 83 studies covering multiple dimensions of diversity, ethnic, linguistic, religious, genetic, birthplace, their relationship to economic growth. His bias correlated average or small overall. There's no statistically significant association as far as ethnic, linguistic diversity concerned. This goes over some of the research just related to like societal trust and on cultural norms and stuff. Those Americans who have parents from societies with lower levels of trust are themselves somewhat less trusting and vice versa. The bivariate correlate is around 0.5, which means that about a quarter of cross-origin variation in trust among second-generation Americans is statistically accounted for by a difference in their origin country trust. Or interpreting the slope, moving 10 percentage points higher on the origin culture trust moves descendants, second-generation Americans, a bit under 3 percentage points higher on how much they trust. For example, the difference between a Scandinavian cultural background and the difference between a Scandinavian cultural background on one extreme and French and Mexican cultural background on the other, which is a very hefty difference, and moving from 20% trust over to 6% trust translates to around 12 percentage points in difference in second-generation Americans. Doesn't control for anything that's aggregated, blah, 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 blah. There's more detailed research. Says much same things, relatively small stuff. Some of the stuff is even smaller. And then there's research on why the different exist. And it seems most of it is due to institutions and not any type of, or like the institutions of the country they're from. Context of Denmark focused study. Nenestead et al. Posited a dilemma as follows. If culture dominates, then immigrant groups from different origins should retain markedly different trust levels even when living under the same Danish institutions. If institutions dominate, immigrant trust should move towards the host country environment, and differences across groups should be explained more by how people experience institutions than by cross-origin proxies. Their data shows it's clearly the latter. Differences in migrant social trust are explained by things like resources and institutional trust instead of various cultural variables. And they naturally interpret the evidence as consistent with good institutions raising trust by lowering the risk of being exploited when you trust strangers. And there's some other blah, blah, blah stuff here. And then there's some stuff here related to how much things like immigration affect social trust. Thoughts on the latest BB banger? I'm not sure I've seen it. I saw this April Fool's Day post. Oh, the social media one? I mean, I experience a lot of similar things on the type of, and the corners of the internet that I inhabit. It's not surprising. It was a banger. If you want to rank some bagel stop, oh boy.
I believe so, yes.
Where else do you think is a third world country?
There are parts of countries like Bangladesh and a great many others, but that's somewhat aside from the point.
India is a third world country?
Capital thing solved in
I think
6 minutes long.
Whether it is or not, there are certain parts of India that are, of course, very westernized and would probably be considered a first world country. However, I think there are a lot of parts of India that, yes, should be considered a third world country still today.
And what do you mean by third world? What does that mean?
I mean, we've had a lot of technological advances and societal advances. For lack of that is a massive, massive issue because, of course, these people are not prepared for this. I think if we did it...
Are inferior.
I mean, quite a few, to be honest with you. I'm not going to sit here and call out people's specific cultures. However.
Which ones? Which cultures?
I mean,
why not? Call it out.
Yeah.
Which ones?
Sure, fine. Afghanistan would be a good example.
That's a country, not a culture.
Well, of course, the culture that comes from Afghanistan.
How are we fumbling this?
extent. We can talk about the Muslim culture that comes from the Middle Eastern countries. I would argue that those aren't particularly equal. I mean, we see a lot
so
of
the whole Muslim culture of what,
liberal
over a billion, well, actually nearly 2 billion people.
I didn't say the whole Muslim culture.
Well, you said Muslim.
You just said it.
Correct. I said, yes, I
the
said
Muslim
some of the
culture you
Muslim
believe
cultures that we're
is
seeing
an
from the Middle
inferior.
East.
Well, just I'm trying to work out what you believe. So you think the Muslim culture is an inferior culture?
In a lot of ways, yes.
Wow.
It's just so ridiculous, Piers.
Okay.
This is so ridiculous.
Brian, I think we're getting to why this comment went viral. Why both those comments went viral.
First,
Like, I do think that is not phrased in the best way, to say the least or whatever. But like, I don't know. I prefer we do something beyond just like liberal woke skull scoffing at them or whatever. Like,
extremely offensive. I would ask her how many Muslim people does she know, number one. Number two, when you take an entire group of people.
Quite a few, and they're actually very westernized.
I didn't interrupt you. I did not interrupt you. Please let me finish. When
You
you
did
take an
actually
entire group
interrupt
of
Brian, but that's
people, when you take an entire group of people and say they are lesser than us, that is pure bigotry. And I'm not surprised.
Actually, I stated in that video my exact. You made an incorrect statement about my position.
You just thought Afghanistan was a culture, so don't talk to me about statements that people make that are not correct. Okay.
Countries have culture, Brian.
Pierce, here's the issue we have here. Okay. And I'm going to instill politics into this. When you go on her social media page, she echoes a lot of similar things that MAGA Republicans echo, taking an entire group of people like the Laura Loomers of the world, saying they all should be deported, or in this case, taking all Muslims and saying they're inferior to Americans. She has a MAGA hat on her social media page.
Not what I said.
And what she does is she caters to MAGA Republicans in her base. It's why she gets all the views she gets. And I think it's extremely offensive, I'll say it once again, to take an entire group of people. That would be, how would you feel if somebody said everybody that is Indian is inferior to Americans? You would say that's racist. That's a terrible thing to say.
Well,
By the way,
hang on, let me ask a question.
I would never say that.
Well, let me ask a question. Would you say that about Indians?
Of course, and I would not. Of course not. I would never say that about any race or group of people.
You
That's
literally
not
just
what I
said
said.
oh, I like how Gibbs and Spin both ended up on Sarah's panel. Oh, what the fuck are they talking about there?
You just said it. You just said it about Muslims.
You couldn't have been clearer. I gave you the chance to clarify. And you clarified.
Oh, it's morality objective.
Particularly God or whatever, and you're going to act like the person that
I'm sure all these people are brilliant philosophers of our time. Okay, well, you know what? Fucking teacher, he's like a Phil Burrows, and he knows.
calling out and condemning.
He knows something.
And you could be an atheist and hold that position, at which T-Jump similarly.
The idea that we need to be able to get there for my morality to have relevance. That's not the point. The point of the definition is to give a definition of what the.
And that's perfectly fine. Look, I do think America has a superior
You're
culture,
fine
and
to
I
have
would like
that
to
view, and it's
uphold
perfectly
that.
fine that we think it's a bigoted view, and very hypocritical if you then say that.
I don't know what T-Jump is now. Is up to nowadays, but it was a bit corny earlier. I mean, I think I've seen him talk to. Like, ask yourself, and I think I've seen him talk to Vosh. Did he talk to Vosh about something?
Other vast countries like India are exempt from your bigotry because, well, guess what? Your father happens to be Indian.
That's of course never what I said, Piers.
No, but people think you're a hypocrite.
You guys are both taking things completely out of context.
They say your father's an Indian, but here you are.
Comment, ask yourself, W.
That's fine. I've been very critical about Indian immigration to this country too.
Did you talk to BB as well? Definitely haven't seen that.
I'm not picking and choosing.
When you say
one
that
group of
some
people,
cultures are less equal, you're a Christian. I understand. Is that right?
Correct. Yes, that's
So
correct. And if you let me clarify exactly what I said.
As a fellow Christian, hang on. As a fellow Christian, I thought.
Okay. Dude, yeah, I think I've watched this.
Not based off of your definition. So your definition, I think, I want to make sure I'm.
Wait, hold on.
You got to see that. That one is hilarious. What do I look up to look at it? Thanks for following, Ganjun Buster 228. Welcome in. I appreciate it. Is it this? Seems like they've talked a few times.
Utilitarianism.
It's an hour long. I'm not gonna watch an hour of this or whatever. But
by God, I'm talking about a perfect being, unlimited in power, knowledge, and goodness, who created the universe. And so, okay, why do I think this? Well, I think it for the same reason I think lots of facts about history or chemistry and so on. Where I think God's existence explains lots of things that we already know about. So the reason, for instance, that I believe that Julius Caesar existed is because Julius Caesar.
Sort of boring. Not gonna lie.
Existence
I might watch it off stream.
writing about.
I'm probably gonna.
I think that the existence of God explains lots of facts about the world. So what facts does it explain? Well, it explains that there's a physical world at all. That's more strongly predicted if there's a God than if there's not a God, because if God wants to make physical, embodied, conscious agents on the grounds that they're a good thing, then he needs a physical world to make that. So it's at least not that unlikely that there'd be a physical world. In contrast, if there's no God, it's much less likely that there'd be a physical world. It explains why there are laws at all. It explains why the laws are applicable, right? So it explains why the laws that exist happen to apply to the things that exist. You can imagine that not happening, right? So you can imagine there are laws of the form, all Y's do something, but they're only X's, so the stuff just sits around dormant doing nothing forever. It requires that the laws are capable of producing complex structures, right? So you could just have laws where the things just move in a straight line or in a circle or don't do anything or just follow some very boring path. But those aren't the laws we have. We have laws that give rise to these very rich, complex structures that are capable of forming them. We have finely tuned constants on top of that. So we have constants that if you tweak them even very slightly, that fall in this extremely narrow range that's necessary to give rise to complex structures. If they were different by even
possible type of universe has an equal probability. Naturalism, atheism, both models. You can compare that to something that makes
probability that if there was a genie, they would do all these specific things. So it doesn't at all raise the overall
no,
probability.
that wouldn't be, that would be a straw man. So in this case, that would be the nature of the
How is
genie.
it a straw man? I haven't even represented your
position. So in this case, it would be like the nature of the genie was necessary, so that would necessarily do all of the things we see. And so this is the most likely outcome, is that all of the things we see are exactly what would have happened because it's the nature of the genie. So it's not just random. And it's the nature of the genie must necessarily, because it's the oneness of the genie. So it only has one part, and it's one partness that necessarily would create everything we see as we see it. And if we compare that to the hypothesis of evolution, that's still just a stupid hypothesis. I can post hoc rationalize anything to make it seem like there's just one magic property that would necessarily produce everything we see, and compare that to something like evolution. It's just garbage. It's not evidence at all. What we need is novel predictions. Evolution provides those, and so the novel predictions of evolution completely trounces any kinds of prior probability. And prior probability doesn't apply to anything new hypotheses. It only applies to past hypotheses anyway.
Okay, well, so so what I was saying was that in that case, I think that the prior probability of that very specific hypothesis would be very low, but that hypothesis, it would actually go up in probability as a lot because of the evidence, but just because its prior is so low, it would still have a very, very low probability. But I don't agree with your idea that the only reason why we believe things is on the basis of making novel testable predictions. I mean, if we apply that consistently, we would throw out nearly all of the historical sciences, right? So for the way we know that Julius Caesar existed in history is not that people.
Yeah, there isn't, bro. It might be better for me to watch this off stream. I don't know. Okay, how long is this? 15 minutes? Might want to do that tomorrow. Okay, I will watch that off stream, but I want to do shit. So let's listen to some. I saved that. We can watch it tomorrow. But I will be distributing it tomorrow. So yeah, we need to make it do the balance of payments. Plus, I don't understand Bretton Woods yet. You don't even need to. No longer relevant. Ask you later your opinion. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Love streaming. I'm gonna send you guys over to. Why can't I? Oh, there we go. Head over to fucking Sarah. Gotta get Frank.
Define critical points of a continuous function. You first find the derivative of the function, then set the derivative equal to 0 to solve for x values. These x values are the critical points.
Okay, well, love streaming. Love you guys watch the stream. I'll see y'all tomorrow, and we'll be doing more cool stuff. Kanye. Well, I know Ye is Kanye. I don't know that album or anything though, or anything about it. So see you tomorrow. Love streaming. Love you guys watching the stream. Again, I think the only thing I have planned in a hardcore plan in the future right now is April 13th, the Unfuck America event. So see you guys tomorrow. Hell yeah. Oops. Hold on. Let me hit.